exercise that we did was entrepreneurs can do together. And there were such beautiful examples came out, right from how a solar dryer can actually dry natural dyes, which can go into solar vastra. So there are a lot of these interlinkages and ecosystems that can be created if you actually put your heads together. Now let me actually move from micro entrepreneurs to entrepreneurs and their support ecosystem. And of course, one of the things that entrepreneurs need is capital. Aparna, you have, I think, as in when I say you, like Asha Impact has supported DRE quite early on. In 2015, you supported one of the enterprises in this sector. But we also know like these solutions kind of take time to gestate. They are not typical VC funding sort of models where just in 2 or 3 years you can get multiplier returns and then VCs can exit. So how do you see the space? Like, what is the role that you see for VCs in this space? And whether VCs need to relook at, if they are looking at the impact side, relook at their own models to support the entrepreneurs like Tushar and others?
Thanks, Abhishek. So I think just quickly, to also explain Asha Impact's own model. So we're actually two entities. One is a fund which invests in social enterprises, social and environmental enterprises. The other is a think tank that actually is building capacity in the ecosystem for impact investing as well as blended finance. So I'll be wearing sort of both hats on the panel today. But I think to answer your question first, and then I think I had a couple of observations as sort of Kanika was also speaking. So I think to your question, yes, Asha Impact did come in early. Greenway is one of our investments. I think one needs to sort of step back and see within the DRE space where are there pockets where actually venture capital can play a role. Today, the way funds are set up, that's typically sort of 8 to 10 year cycles where you sort of invest and are starting to look at exits, after 5 to 6 years. So that kind of a time horizon doesn't really bode well for, I would say, a bulk of the DRE space today. However, there are pockets. So, I mean, for example, Greenway is one such investment. If one is looking at, smart meters, etc., for grids, those are again areas where we've seen investments. S4S, I think, is on the other panel. So we've seen, pockets of success where people have built a business which is VC backable, VC fundable as well. As investors, we're obviously, willing to support those, entrepreneurs, not just with capital, but also with expertise, helping them open doors, build that kind of ecosystem as well that you were talking about. We have seen a lot of impact funds play that role to write that first check, which actually helps the entrepreneur get to the second stage where more commercial capital can come in as well. But I think, it's not just the fund at play, but there's an entire ecosystem of funding, right? So if one is asking for VCs to take another look at their own models, maybe yes, the time's there because one's talking about climate financing, green financing, and yes, this requires a little bit more patient capital, more riskier capital to come in. But perhaps I think as an ecosystem, we must also look innovatively at what other ways we can deploy finance, to create that larger impact as well. And I, wanted to draw the audience's attention to maybe blended finance as a tool or as an approach to, scaling such solutions as well. Very simply put, that's, blending, money from public sources as well as philanthropic sources and combining that with commercial capital. Again, Samunati has been playing a fantastic role here, not just supporting DRE, but also enterprises in the agri space. What that does, Abhishek, is that with the limited private capital that we have, you're sort of making that more efficient, making that more accountable to outcomes. And also because philanthropic capital or maybe public capital is providing that little bit of risk cushioning that's required for commercial capital. You're bringing in, a lot more money that is sitting in the capital markets and deploying that towards development outcomes. So I think one way, yes, we can look at, VC sort of relooking at that model, but I think there's a lot more on the innovative side that can be done with blended finance capital as well.
Great. I do hope that both who are sitting on public money as well as those who are sitting on private capital, philanthropic capital, are taking note of this, and how do we sort of innovatively use that money to sort of take it a lot further instead of only deploying it as direct solution.
And if I can just quickly add, one is, perceived risk in this sector. The other is, the role of technology. I mean, there's just so much innovation that is happening. So one needs proof of concept. And that's, again, where I think there's a role for public money, for philanthropy, as well as for blended finance. I think a good example here, perhaps, would be the US-India, sustainable for clean energy, the facility that's been set up. Where close to $20 million has just been put as technical grant, and on the back of that, 200 million of commercial capital has been raised, and perhaps even more. These are just the last numbers I have off the top of my mind. So I think there's a lot that is being done, but yeah, for proof of concept, for eliminating some of that risk, we can definitely look at such structures.
I think Srijit wanted to come in.
I have a point adding on to what Aparna said. At Samunati, we also need to raise resources, right? Capital is very important for us. And we do have access to many of the banks and NBFCs who lend to us. But when you look at the entire end user, we have to be little bit careful in terms of, the cost of capital is very important for everyone. So when we talk to the startups and all, we always look at the combination of a debt or a bridge can be given to them, so that that's what they need in the initial stage. At the same time, when we are talking to a farmer collective, a smallholder farmer, and also when we are looking at, okay, this is what is going to create some impact, might be we reach out to a separate set of philanthropic or international donors, where we are able to get impact capital. End objective is, can we go and give a reduced rate of interest to the smallholders so that it becomes easier for them to access. So that's what should be the approach, because you cannot have the same process done for the entire value chain. You need to understand the actors, you have to understand the end beneficiaries and come out with a solution.
Great. No, there's no denying that I think blending of the various kinds of capital is pretty essential. Whether it is grant money with the equity, whether it is the philanthropic money with the debt. And we have seen that even in the Powering Livelihoods. I mean, some of the sort of financing deals we unlocked was on the back of that philanthropic money sweetener coming in, right, which kind of enables the entire deal to happen. Let me sort of go back to Mr. Jadhani. One of the things we often hear that livelihoods is kind of a program or a mandate for several ministries of the Government of India. I mean, Ministry of Rural Development is trying to promote livelihoods. Then there are sector-specific ministries. Food processing is trying to promote livelihoods in the food processing industries. Textile Ministry trying to promote it there. MSME in general trying to promote micro-entrepreneurship, etc. So how do you see like a ministry like MNRE working on these DRE livelihoods, kind of converging with the other ministries of Government of India on this one?
So one of the objective of coming out with this DRE policy is that different ministries are working in silos, and they are supporting the DRE application in different ways. What I have observed that say the Ministry of Tribal Affairs or Ministry of Textile, Ministry of MSME or some other ministries, they are funding for certain application, but to a certain extent, not for the full. And that solution is also limited. It's not that the variety of solutions are there. So we thought it is appropriate that we, being the MNRE is the nodal ministry in the Government of India for promoting the renewable energy. So anything which is related to the renewable energy, suppose you are having the cold storage. Now the cold storage being financed by the Ministry of Horticulture Department, they are providing 35%, or for the solar dryer, they are providing 35%. Similarly, for the solar pumps, Ministry of Agriculture is also providing support. So whether the product that they are financing is of the standard that has to be, or whether the services that has to be provided to the buyer or the beneficiary is being provided, is not there. So that standardization is required. On the equipment side, on the service side, on the skill side also, on every side. So that's why the DRE policy, it talks about the all aspects. The DRE it provides the energy access. Kanika says you need the energy access for all entrepreneurs. So once you get the energy access, then only you can grow. Your economic activities can grow when you have the energy access. So far we have covered all the 6 lakh villages. We have electrified them. We have the access of electricity to the household under Saubhagya scheme or so. But whether the electricity is available for the economic activities, that is the big question. And there the DRE applications come forward. The entrepreneurs, small entrepreneurs need energy for these activities. So in DRE policy, we talked about the aspect of, say, I'm not aware about what are the DRE applications are there which can be used by me. So it talks about the creating the publicity and awareness about the different applications. Then I'm not aware whether it will work for a longer period. Initially, of course, I think the finance is required, and there could be several models of finance. But in long term, we have to think of the sustainability of the DRE application itself and the innovations. So people are coming out with this small innovations which has to be strengthened, which has to be scaled up, which has to be piloted. So the policy talks about all these things. Then the demand aggregation. So you have to aggregate the demand. Maybe it's a cluster based or maybe it's a sector based. You have to aggregate the demand. So starting from the aggregation, capacity building, awareness, skilling, financing, piloting, innovation, and that the policy is comprehensive on all these aspects.
Yeah. I mean, you ended up touching on really all the nodes possible for an ecosystem to be created, like right from the innovation to financing to supporting entrepreneurs to after-sales services to monitoring and quality. So I think you've literally just touched on all those aspects. Thank you, Janani, for that. Now let me go back to Kanika. Again, from a end user, from a micro-entrepreneur, the local on-ground change maker's perspective, micro-entrepreneurship can also be sometimes fairly risky, right? I mean, we know that farmers are in some ways a micro-entrepreneur and they take a huge risk every season. But micro-entrepreneurship also can have several kinds of risks. The safety nets are very limited compared to, let's say, a job if you have as a salaried employee. How can we take care of some of those risks? Like, what are the ways in which we can build some safety cushions for micro-entrepreneurship? If you may want to reflect on that, Kanika.
I don't know, this question kind of baffles me, honestly, because when you talk about entrepreneurship, you don't talk about safety. You know, you actually have to encourage people to take much more risk. And I think in our communities, they have it within them. We just have to really unleash those energies that actually exist inside. So that's how I see it. But it's also true. And I would sort of translate your question more and again, what do you really need to do to build that ecosystem so that they feel they have the support where required? And I think in that, one basic thing I think would be is that we have to stop looking at micro-entrepreneurs as a one standard fit all kind of a criteria, right? I mean, they have different personas. The way that they will set up or service their businesses will be different. The way they look at finance will be different. I think there must be much more understanding of what are the different types of personas of these entrepreneurs so that we can create a better support system for them. So that would be the first, to just actually understand who they are. I think the second would be, I think you sort of talked about it, innovation in the finance. Because most businesses fail in the first year because of cash flow issues. Whereas when we talk about micro-entrepreneurship, you just look at it, you look at cash or finance just for setting up the business. But what are the other mechanisms that can come in? So one of the things that we do is we work with social investment platforms, which enable choice-based kind of a lending, and that can sort of come through in a very fast, quick manner. And we've seen great results. I mean, right now our payback is 99%. So there's also that myth around that micro-entrepreneurs actually can't pay back. And 98.5% of our businesses we've supported are also still standing. So, but it's just because of the ecosystem that's been built. And the third I would say is that how do the stakeholders come together, particularly at the district level, because that's where a lot of the support system to the entrepreneurs can happen. Because see, a lot of the conversations happen at the macro level, like this, or we try to work at the village level. But I think that district level is really a place where an ecosystem can be built, particularly where the self-training institutes are, where the DIC is, where most of the MBFCs, microfinance institutions are, and very importantly, where the entrepreneurs can also have a voice. So we've created what we call a district entrepreneurship coalition, which at the district level in one way actually just meet and share ideas and challenges that exist, but also are coming together to sort of look at how they can influence the larger ecosystem, and because of which one mainstream bank actually reduced their interest rate from 23% to 21%, because they could see now there are lots of these players that have become visible. So the ecosystem starts becoming visible for everyone. The entrepreneurs' voices start becoming visible.
Great. I think there are two clear takeaways I take from them, that intervention. One is this working between the micro and the macro at that meso level, be it the block or the districts. And the second is creating this ecosystem so that the financiers feel that there is a support all around and they sort of loosen their purse strings. But what earlier Sridhar and now you have also said, like actually giving choice to the end users around financing and not just thinking about there is just one door that they can knock, but ultimately multiple financiers knocking the end user's door is where we really want to be.
And maybe the financial institutions need that safety net, right? Because the moment they feel they are part of this coalition, they feel protected. In fact, the banks were almost shamed into giving loans out because they said, we've been coming into these meetings for like 1 year, 1.5 years. We're the only ones who's not giving a loan.
Yeah, we need to create competition there. Great. I think I want to now sort of evolve the conversation a little bit and bring in particularly women into this conversation. We know, like a lot of the micro entrepreneurship, a lot of the agriculture in this country is actually led by women. Powering Livelihood itself has an explicit focus on women inclusion, and we have seen almost 70% of our users being women of these various livelihood solutions. But where we really struggle to see more women in the sector is at the entrepreneurship level, at these enterprises level, like those who are founding and co-founding these companies who can serve these end customers. There have been 1 or 2 programs in the sector which have particularly tried to bring that focus on women, but we do struggle. So I want to briefly bring this to Aparna here. Like, how do you see like we can support more women entrepreneurship and encourage more women to come in into the sector?
No, I think thanks for that, Abhishek. I think it's a very important question, and one that we're constantly asking ourselves as well, right? That how can we as the impact community or the VC community serve entrepreneurs better? So I think if one sort of looks at the stats, I think right at the top, one needs to start by creating a lot more funnel. And I think that goes back to, what the panel has already been talking about. You need to create those, I don't want to use safety and entrepreneurship in the same statement. I agree with Kanika. But at the same time, create an ecosystem where a lot more entrepreneurs can flourish. Whether that requires more mentoring, more programs, or the focus on women entrepreneurships, connecting them to markets, to finance, organizations, whether it's banks or VCs. I think that mentorship piece is also fairly important, whether it's business mentorship, etc. To create a much larger top of funnel where you have more women entrepreneurs, coming in. And then I think at the VC level itself, as one sort of moves down the funnel, at the VC level as well, I think having a bias to create gender parity is absolutely important. Now there are movements, globally, like, the 2X, by IFC and other such funders, to provide that platform to start evaluating VC funds, what are they really doing for women entrepreneurs, etc. So I think globally, there is a movement to support more women entrepreneurs, provide more funding. There are women-focused funds that are also coming in. So not just sector focused, but there's a lot of conversation around gender lens investing now. I think people are realizing that to actually have portfolios that perform better than their existing portfolios, and then there are tons of research that shows it, right? So it's not just about affirmative action, but it actually makes business sense to have companies that have at least one co-founder as a woman, and support them and kind of include and have a more balanced portfolio. So I think there is a lot more that needs to be done, but both at the VC level and for ecosystem stakeholders as well, to create the right environment for, I guess, more women entrepreneurs to flourish as well.
Great. In fact, the point around women inclusion makes business sense. We have ourselves experienced this in the Powering Livelihoods program, enterprise after enterprise. We really supported several enterprises to have gender inclusive strategies, business strategies. We have seen real business results, leveraging women demo champions on the ground, instill a lot more confidence among other community members when a local woman is actually talking about these solutions and saying that, yes, I am a user, adopt it, and so on. So that social capital can be very nicely leveraged by a lot of these enterprises to actually take their impact as well as their revenue mandates forward.
Look at the whole microfinance industry that came up, right? Which was centered around the SHG groups first. Look at the kind of payback over there. Look at the micro entrepreneurship that has flourished, the jobs that have been created, and also, the facts and figures stating that 10 rupees that goes into a woman's hand will go much further in creating, a lot more sort of economic and health impact at the family level as well. So I think it just makes a lot more business sense as well as for the society to be doing this.
Indeed. Now, I think what I would love to hear now a little bit from Iswaranji is around this whole notion that initially we, of course, need at the stage where we are some kind of blended capital, some kind of risk money coming in to sort of help private capital to get unlocked. But how do you see, how can we graduate slowly from that first loss default guarantees or some kind of credit guarantees to more and more private capital and less that risk capital that needs sort of still that cushioning that we are talking about? What are some of the parallels you have seen in any other sectors or any other technology segments that you have been involved with, where you have seen that graduation happening? And any learnings from there that we can take?
Yeah, thanks. Let's talk about the FLDG. Now, basically, FLDG is not that, it's mandatory. Why we in Samunati or any of the NBFC are looking at an FLDG is, we just want to understand in terms of the comfort that you get it, start. And also the social enterprise. And when we even take a housing loan, you also put your own margin, right? 15 to 20%. So here we are looking at in terms of the business model and what confidence level that they have on their product so that it can be scaled. So FLDG is only a comfort factor for you to scale and support them, right? But gradually over a period of time, once we have really engaged with them and you have seen many of the end users are actually using this technology, and slowly we withdraw that support. And in the last 4 or 5 years of our engagement with the startups in this space, not a single case we have invoked an FLDG. That's one positive thing which I can talk about it. And when you spoke about how it is evolving over a period of time, there has to be an institution which will start this, right? So we at Samunati, because of our entire approach to the value chain, we are able to understand the risk, number one. And when it comes to the repayment, we are not looking at, there is a risk, how the repayment will happen. We look at the entire thing in terms of what the activity is happening, who are the markets that are connected. So we have a clear visibility on that. Like today also, if you see when we started the event, we had 3 end users, all from a sector, one from fishery, one from a farmer collective. But actually, the enterprise are only giving a solutions to make the process efficient. But all those end users, they were already doing an activity. So that we have confidence in that activity, we understand that, right? So that's how we demonstrate on the ground. Let's come out with a product solution. And you be the first mover to help them, support them. And the way we have done the financing and we have got a proper track record, we are able to customize if there are any challenges. Then, looking at this, many of the bankers come back to us and say, okay, there is already a risk which Sammunati has taken, the portfolio has been built. Then slowly we get into a co-lending approach, right? With a co-lending approach, definitely the scale is happening. Over a period of time, the mainstream bank is able to take it on their own. They say, okay, now we have built the book. That's how we have seen the shift happening in this space. And we at Sammunati, we have seen when we started, might be in some of the sectors, there are only 1 or 2 banks who were there. Today, in many of the value chains, when we have seen 50 plus financial institutions, including NBFCs, are very, very active in this space. And some of the fintech companies are actually playing a role in a niche solution they are giving on a particular set of activity, and that's how it's happening. So there are a lot of players who are actually taking note of it, and they are in this space now. Thank you.
Great. On that cue, I mean, I hope that next time we do this summit in a couple of years down the line, we have at least 50 financiers already supporting this sector. Instead of, I'm tempted to ask you all more questions, but I'm going to take a hold on that and sort of open this up for all the audience in the room and see if we have a few questions from the audience. So if you can have the mics being ushered to the audience, please. I see a hand raised there. I think that's Ganesh. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ganesh from the Council on Energy, Environment and Water. Thank you for the brilliant panel discussion. I just had a very brief question. So from this discussion, it seems to me that broadly the questions of financing seem to be around, how do you enable DRE-based technology, how do you make that available and grow this ecosystem? Sir had also mentioned very briefly about skilling, and then there was a conversation about the gender lens. But we are also parallelly talking about the need for a just transition. We are seeing that going forward, there will be a lot of job losses in the fossil fuel value chain. And I believe that a certain amount of skilling would be required to ensure that jobs lost there can be absorbed. Intermediaries who are best placed to enable that kind of skilling, and what kind of financing support can that how could those intermediaries be supported through financing? Thank you.
Are you directing your question to someone specific?
No, I'm leaving that open to the panel. Thank you, Abhishek.
Anyone would like to sort of take that on?
Thanks for that question, Ganesh. I'll try and answer maybe part of that is, as you sort of mentioned, we are seeing a shift. I think, let me put that broader. It's not just about, fossil fuel to say cleaner energy, but when we are talking about, the climate space today, there's also talk about decarbonization, etc. So what's the impact that's going to have on jobs? Where are jobs going to get created? Where are they going to get taken away? So I think rather than sort of focus the question just on the piece that you were talking about, I want to have a much broader conversation. I think at the end of the day, as new industries come in, and there are so many sunrise sectors that one is also talking about on the tech side, but let's limit ourselves to maybe DRE and climate-focused jobs and green jobs right now. I think as and when people see the opportunity, there are going to be intermediaries that step in, and as long as there are viable sort of business models, both, on the skilling side. So when one looks at the value chain, one is at the end use customer, who's actually, providing them, say with the services or the products. There are going to be viable companies there, that will get financed either from a VC lens or, as one talked about, this blend correctly. Again, I think for us as an impact fund or as a VC fund, I think it boils down to whether or not there's an investable business there or not, right? So if it makes business sense, then absolutely, I think venture cap or other kind of capital, whether it's debt capital, will follow. It really boils down to the kind of business model that you're talking about, whether that's VC investable or should we be looking at other forms of financing, whether it's debt, whether it's blended capital, etc. What is the perceived risk? I think if anybody else wants to add to that as well.
So just to add about this job loss from the fossil to the non-fossil, how this can be adjusted. So if you work out what are the job lost in the fossil sector, maybe say coal mining and then thermal power plants. And vis-a-vis, if you see the same generation from the renewables would have the more jobs. One, because in the thermal sector, you have the PLF for 80%, 85%, 90% sometimes. But as compared to that, you have, for the same energy, you have to have 4 times of solar plant capacity. And if you go for the DRE sector, then the immense potential is there. As Kanika has said, that on the job, there is a number of jobs will be created. In 6 lakh villages, if you take few number of jobs per village, then it's a number of jobs as compared to the fossil sector.
Okay. I think there's a question here right at the front.
गुड आफ्टरनून, मेरा नाम राजीव गोयल है, मैं नोएडा से हूँ, भिवानी कंसल्टिंग प्राइवेट लिमिटेड का प्रेसिडेंट हूँ। मेरा सर एक चीज़ है कि हम लोग बायोमास में काम कर रहे हैं गाँव में, तो इसमें काफ़ी अपॉर्चुनिटी हम देखते हैं कि लोगों में अवेलेबल है, क्योंकि बायोमास से पैलेट्स बनाना या बायोगैस बनाने के लिए तो हम बायो पैलेट्स की तरफ हम काम कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि MNRE ने भी निकाला हुआ है कि 5 से 10% उनको जलाना है। सर इसमें एक बहुत बड़ा इशू ये आ रहा है कि जनरली जो प्लांट अभी लग पा रहे हैं वो 20 से 50 टन पर डे के लग पा रहे हैं। छोटा प्लांट्स में सक्सेस का चांसेस ज़्यादा है, ज़्यादा जॉब उसमें हम बढ़ा सकते हैं। इसमें सर कोई सब्सिडी के कोई ये है अवेलेबिलिटी या सोशल फंडिंग, क्योंकि ये जो गांव के लोग हैं इनके पास इतना पैसा नहीं है कि वो 25-50 लाख रुपए का मशीन लगाएं और ऑलमोस्ट 50 लाख रुपए का ये सामान लेके रखें, या किस तरह का हम मैकेनिज्म बना सकते हैं, क्योंकि हमारा आइडिया है कि हम कम से कम इस तरह के 50 से 100 लोगों को अगर जोड़ दें तो हम सेल तो कर देंगे, हम सेल करने की स्थिति में हैं, लेकिन जो वैल्यू चेन बनाना चाहते हैं हम उस वैल्यू चेन बनाने में दिस जो नेचुरली जो फंडिंग वाला जो एक इशू है, एंड दे आर जनरली बिकॉज बायोमास हम सभी जानते हैं कि पॉल्यूशन को भी इम्पैक्ट कर रहा है, और मतलब देयर आर ह्यूज प्रोस्पेक्ट्स आर अवेलेबल, एंड लोगों में ऐसा मानसिकता नहीं देखा मैंने वहाँ हरियाणा में, पंजाब में, उड़ीसा में कि वो जलाएं उसको जो है, लेकिन अगर हम उसको वैल्यू चेन में कन्वर्ट कर सकते हैं तो वो डेफिनेटली सर उसको करेंगे। तो इस पर अगर कुछ कह सकते हैं। थैंक यू सर।
तो राजीव जी, मैं आपको बताना चाहूँगा कि ये बायो एनर्जी पे अभी हमने थोड़े दिन पहले ही एक स्कीम जारी की है, जिसके अंतर्गत एक तो बायोगैस के लिए सब्सिडी अवेलेबल है, डिफरेंट कैपेसिटी के लिए अलग अलग स्लैब वाइज है। इसके अलावा कंप्रेस्ड बायोगैस के लिए भी प्लांट लगाना है, अगर उसके इलेक्ट्रिसिटी जनरेट करनी है तो उसके लिए अलग से सब्सिडी का प्रोविज़न है। एक हमने पोर्टल भी क्रिएट किया है बायो एनर्जी के नाम से, वहाँ पे बेनिफिशियरी सीधा जा कर के अपने आप अप्लाई कर सकता है सब्सिडी के लिए। और स्टेट में डिफरेंट इम्प्लीमेंटिंग एजेंसीज हैं जो इसको आपको सपोर्ट करेंगी। तो ये प्रोविज़न अभी 2-3 महीने पहले ही ये स्कीम जारी की गई है। हाँ, बायो पैलेट्स के बारे में देखिए, एक तो आपने बात कही कि 5% जो हमने थर्मल प्लांट्स में जलाने के लिए कहा है, तो वो है ही। दूसरा मुझे जो बढ़िया सॉल्यूशन लगता है, हम कुक स्टोव्स की बात करते हैं, इम्प्रूव्ड कुक स्टोव की बात करते हैं, तो अभी कई बार आता है कि हम सोलर कुकिंग को प्रमोट करें, तो मुझे लगता है कि सोलर कुकिंग के बजाय, क्योंकि हमारी जो कुकिंग नीड्स हैं वो ऐसी नहीं है जो सोलर कुकिंग से फुलफिल होंगी, वो ऐसी नहीं है। तो बजाय उसके कि हम इम्प्रूव्ड कुक स्टोव यूजिंग द पैलेट्स, इसकी तरफ ज़्यादा ध्यान दें। इससे क्या होगा कि एक आप मान लो एक गांव में आपने बायोमास इम्प्रूव्ड बायोमास कुक स्टोव दे दिए हैं, तो आपको एक आदमी ऐसा चाहिए जो इसको रोज़गार मिलेगा, जो पैलेट्स बना करके सबको डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करेगा। तो एक जॉब क्रिएशन के हिसाब से अच्छा, और पैलेट्स यूज़ करके जो आपका इम्प्रूव्ड कुक स्टोव है उसमें कोई धुआं नहीं होता, वो बिल्कुल क्लीन है। तो उसकी तरफ मुझे लगता है कि ज़्यादा ध्यान देने की ज़रूरत है। थैंक यू।
And if I may add, I think the cue that I am taking is that in the next phase of the Powering Livelihood, we should have 1 or 2 such small pelletizer manufacturing companies who, instead of creating that 50-60,000 lakh ka plant, they are able to create a couple of lakh, 5 lakh tak ka plant. Okay, I think there are 2 questions here. One maybe from the gentleman behind, blue shirt, and then from you, sir.
My question is for the panelists. I heard the last question that the farmers or the villagers in the villages don't have the capacity to gain capital. I want to ask if the panelists have some time. Prime Minister of India 4-5 years ago had launched a scheme. The name was Prime Minister Swamit scheme. He wanted to make sure that the villages of the country, where the people, the rural society lives, they are not able to access capital of their assets. That means their households. So he used the survey to digitize their land records so that farmers can use their own houses as a capital generating asset. So do you think in this industry, will they be open for the villagers and farmers to ensure that they can access capital through their own land or through their own, something which they own as their ownership belongs to them? Because how long do we expect our India, the country, to depend upon finances for such opportunities to come from outside? I am talking about a farmer. We heard किसान देश 70 साल से भूखा था. किसानों ने मेहनत की, देश को इस काबिल बना दिया कि हम इतना अनाज उगा पा रहे हैं कि हमारे पास कैपेसिटी ज़्यादा है. तो आज के टाइम में जब तक किसानों का विश्वास नहीं जीता जाएगा कि आप काबिल हो, आप मार्केट में अपने दम पे ब्याज, एक न्यूनतम ब्याज पे लोन ले सकते हो, तब तक तो बहुत मुश्किल है देश में उम्मीद करना कि 50 बिलियन की इंडस्ट्री हम अचीव कर लेंगे 3 साल या फिर 30 साल में. दैट इज़ द क्वेश्चन ओपन फॉर द पैनलिस्ट. थैंक यू.
Sridhar ji, do you want to take that because it is related to the financing?
ऐसे नहीं कि आज एक किसान अपना घर के मॉर्गेज करके लोन नहीं ले पा रहा है. आज भी बैंक्स दे रहे हैं. खाली एक कौन दे रहे हैं कि बड़े बड़े जो किसान हैं उनकी तो अच्छी खासी रिक्वायरमेंट है, तो बहुत सारे बैंक उसको कोलैटरल देके ऑलरेडी लोन दे रहे हैं. रही बात आप जो कह रहे हैं कि वो इम्पोर्टेंट है, हमको पता करना चाहिए कि ये जो टाइटल सारा जो है वहाँ पे बहुत बड़ी चैलेंज होती है किसान के ओके पे. फ्रैगमेंटेड हो जाती है, बंटवारा हो जाता है, वहाँ पे बहुत सारी दिक्कतें आती हैं. लेकिन जैसे आपने क्या बताया कि बहुत सारी स्टेट्स में अभी मॉर्गेज का पूरा जो लैंड रिकॉर्ड्स भी डिजिटाइज हो रहा है, जिससे आगे जाके आसानी होगी कि हर एक बैंक उसको पूरा ऑनलाइन में देख ले, परिचय कर ले कि ये टाइटल डीड सही है और लोन दे पाएंगे. ये हो रहा है.
The structure is going to be introduced where the banks will actually aggregate all the data and the loan will be given on the basis of someone's cash flow. Now that in our country will be a breakthrough because, that's where the challenge is actually. You are otherwise either determined on the basis of your assets or basically of your credit score, and most people are unbanked. But cash flow, that's where a lot of people have maintenance, and इसमें हमारे institutional framework, so FPOs for examples, can play a very, very strong role in.
खाली एक और चीज़ ऐड करना चाहूँगा, सॉरी फॉर दिस. जिन्होंने डाटा की बात की है, दैट्स वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. आज के तारीख में अगर आप किसान, उसके पूरे पर्सनल इन्फॉर्मेशन, उसकी जो लैंड कौन से क्रॉप ग्रो कर रहा है, उसका यील्ड क्या है, कितनी उसकी एक्सपेंस है, क्या आमदनी है, अगर इस तरह का डाटा आ जाए, और जहाँ पे बहुत सारे स्टेट गवर्नमेंट इसके ऊपर काम भी कर रही है, हमारे साथ बिहार में जीविका से सदस्य है, वहाँ पे अच्छा खासा काम हो रहा है. तो इस तरह का डाटा अगर एक ऐप में अवेलेबल है, जो भी इकोसिस्टम प्ले बैंक ऑल्सो, हमको वो एक्सेस कर पाएंगे एंड वी विल बी एबल टू गिव ए लोन एंड इट विल बी मच फास्टर. आज के दिन में अगर 1 महीना 1.5 महीना लग जाता है, बहुत सारे डॉक्यूमेंट्स आप पूछते हो, आगे जाके इस तरह का जो डाटा एनालिटिक्स हमारे पास होगा, उससे हमारे में लोन देने में आसानी हो जाएगी और तुरंत भी दे सकते हैं.
Yeah, I think just to add to what Kanika said, I think technology is playing a very critical role in that aspect today. When we talk about alternative credit scoring, it's not. This is what is enabling credit to first-time borrowers as well, right? So a farmer falls in that category. A woman, maybe a rural entrepreneur, falls in that category as well. So it's not just whether or not they've been able to take a formal loan, but today a lot of startups are actually working with different inputs that are available. So for example, if Dehat is providing inputs to a farmer, कितने frequency के साथ is the farmer buying that? Are they able to pay for that with cash? Are they paying that, are they paying with that with other mechanisms as well? All of this data is now being aggregated at the farmer level, which will then help maybe more formal sources of credit to evaluate that and say whether or not this is a credible customer. At the end of the day, we have to, and I think this is a repeated theme that we've had in the panel today as well. we need to stop referring to them as micro entrepreneurs, as farmers or something. Bharat is the next big opportunity for us, right? So they are customers, they have aspirations. We need to treat them as customers. We need to give them that choice. They need to be able to say, I want to take credit from you and not from you. So what are the terms that you're going to give that to me at? And I think that change is coming now, and technology is playing a very, very critical role in that.
And I couldn't agree more with both Kanika and Aparna here. I think the last option a farmer or a rural residential person should have is to mortgage their house. It should be collateral-free loans, really. We have Mudra scheme, we have a lot of these P2P networks, we have a lot of innovation on a tech front. Mortgage should actually be not even the last resource in my mind, and that is really what we need to change going forward. I see 3 or 4 hands still up, so what we will do, we'll probably club and take these questions in one go, and then we'll have the panel respond. So a gentleman here in the blue blazer, I think there is a lady there behind, yeah. So first you and then there was someone in the middle, and we can, take yours next, please.
Yeah. Good evening, my name is Shiv. I'm the founder of 3R Zero Waste. So my first question is with regard to the technology. It has been seen that NTPC was supposed to put 100 biopellet plants, waste to energy plants long time back. And recently also IOCL and other oil companies have been told about this buying of CBG. But I don't see that immediate growth in this industry. There are a lot of challenges which are being faced. So I would like to know what are the real challenges? If we know that CBG can be a alternative, why it is not happening? And my second question is just on the funding part. I have invested almost close to 1.5 CR. After working 20 years, I was back in India. If I was not able to raise 1 rupee from this Indian, banking, how a smart guy from IIT Bombay, who might have 100 times better idea than me, would raise fund? So I would like to know how we have to change the system, how we can motivate young entrepreneurs to come into the solution.
Noted. Lady at the back, yes, please. Can you pass the mic?
Hi, my question is directed to Mr. Jithani. You very rightly pointed out that the solar irrigation pumps are being used for almost just 150 days in a year, and the solar photovoltaic system has much more potential, and we are promoting universal power controllers for the same. But these universal power controllers are not subsidized, am I correct? They are not subsidized as of now. So in the situation where already the farmer's share, which is a huge share for the farmer to pay, especially for small and marginal farmers, how do we see this universal power controllers panning out, especially when they're not subsidized and are additional cash burden?
Thank you. The gentleman in the front, yes.
Hi, my name is Dheeraj. This is a question or a point more related to talent, like what Ganesh just raised. I run a search firm which is focused on energy, renewable energy hiring, and been doing so for about almost 15 years now. I've noticed a shift. Obviously, there's about 30 million new jobs that are going to be created in the newer technologies. But there are going to be 24 million jobs that are going to be lost from fossil fuel. And in the last 4 years, I've been running a program where people are coming to me for shifting from fossil fuels to renewables, basically. And that's been pretty successful. But the biggest challenge here is that there's a dearth that's going to be at the managerial level. The junior level will come up with the technologies, newer technologies. There'll be business as usual for them. But the people who need to be reskilled, and they have a lot of these transferable skills which are there, right, are at the managerial level. And that's going to be the challenge. But many of them are also going to drop out, and they're also going to look at entrepreneurial opportunities. And here's something which is there for all of you, because finance, or rather any capital, for it to succeed, you also need to have really driven people. And these are the people you can get a whole lot of them there, who would be and who are from rural backgrounds. I myself,
Sorry,
my
may I just
parents are in a
interrupt?
village.
If there is a specific question, can you just
So
bring
the
that up?
question is, would somebody like, say, MNRE or Samuniti Finance or so, would they be willing to put in capital to build, maybe an ecosystem where such professionals can be transferred, they can successfly transition to
the clean tech
more of DRE related ecosystem. Not just the solar and the wind farms and all of these, but more of a DRE.
Great.
Thank you.
So let's reflect on some of this. Sir, if I may come in the just next round, maybe only to you, because we are running out of time. Jitendra, do you want to quickly reflect on the compressed biogas and bioenergy point, that the pace at which they are coming is probably not commensurate to what the targets are?
So for the compressed biogas, as I mentioned, that the scheme was launched recently in last 2 months back. So that provides some kind of funding for that. And you raised the points for the financing, that how to raise the finance for the CBG. Maybe with the support that is available from the Government of India, the financial viability can improve for the CBG. But I think the major question would be how you get the supply chain issues already there in that BCG plants. With proper, I think, aggregation of the wastage and other things, biomass wastage, I think that can be possible. We are also thinking of having a biomass exchange kind of thing, where you can surely buy the biomass for your BCG like that. On the USPC kind of thing, when we introduced this USPC first time, there was only one player who is manufacturing the USPC. And we thought it is not proper to provide support at this point of time, because there is no competition. But as there were a number of players will be there, and in the recent tender we have closed for the PM Kusum, it's around for 6 lakh of solar pumps. The price difference is not much. It's if you take example of say 5 HP pump, it is around 20 to 30,000 difference, and this amount is easily payable by the farmers who are using the USPC, and we can demonstrate that. So once it is demonstrated, so far the people are not aware, farmers are not aware how USPC can benefit them. Once they are having the benefit out of it, then certainly they are going to buy it from their own sources. And slowly we will also provide some kind of subsidy from the MNRE side.
And anyone want to reflect on the third question, which was around like talent sort of transition?
On the unemployment, sorry, I'm not able to comment on the numbers and all. Okay. I have only 5 years to retire, so I don't have to worry about that. But when it comes to, the job opportunities and, the gentleman spoke about, one thing what at Samunati we are looking at is taking into account this DRD technology and also the couple of other tech innovations. We are talking about drone technology, we are talking about soil testing in, half an hour. So there are a lot of these innovations are happening, and these are all very useful. So we proactively do a lot of these programs, especially for the rural youth employment, so that they get trained on this, along with some of the subject which is relevant to them, like financial management and literacy, including the digitization and all. That really gives them a job opportunity so that they don't migrate. And also with government scheme of, today in the country we have got 15,000 farmer producer organization, and the vision is every block should have a farmer producer organization. And you can see the job opportunities coming over there. So we are coming out with a FPO fellowship program where all these rural youth, being an agri graduate or a 12th pass, they have been trained on this so that they get a job opportunity and they start earning a livelihood in their village only where they come from. That's what I will tell you.
I think we're really out of time, so I just wanted to give chance to this one gentleman here, right at the front, before we close the panel.
Well, this is a different kind of question. So we are into the communications and green energy, but we work across verticals. So two use cases. One of the small product, that is a solar controller we made, which can convert any existing refrigerator to the solar refrigerator. Now we received award and other thing, but there is not much of market except some CSR related things. Secondly, there is a product where we demonstrated that EV charger, which is getting power, the source of the power is the solar, and we demonstrated that also, and we went to the different companies, Hero, Honda and other, but no one is willing to take that in a commercial stage. Now the question is this the marketing problem or is this the financing problem? Because in both the cases, the cost is actually say 15-20K more than the, and the price competitiveness is there because of the market is very sensitive on that actually. So what do you feel, that is this the marketing problem or is this the financing problem? And in case if you can put some of your suggestions. Thank you.
I would say it's not a financing problem or marketing problem. It's a mindset or it's a understanding. People are not aware or not believing that whether it will really work. So I think we have to create a platform where more case studies for the DRE are there, people can see, and there should be some kind of, let's say, bites from the beneficiaries who are actually using all these technology. They can say, yes, it is working, and it can be benefit to all this. And again, on the previous gentleman who is asking for the how we can skill the people who are coming out from the fossil fuel industry to this. We can create a capacity building program for them separately. That we can do. We'll think on that. Thank you.
Yeah, please.
I think I just want to add to what Jeevan sir said. I think it's a supply-demand thing, right? So the minute the market starts to see that there is a gap in the middle management layer for green jobs, I think a lot more people will start to look to get skilled in that, and you will see entrepreneurs come up with skilling programs. I mean, it happened for the social sector. You've had programs like ILSS, but a push maybe from MNRE, tying up with some of the new universities that are coming up, so to offer like a certification course that helps you make that transition into greener jobs, I think could be a valid suggestion as well.
So we already have this Surya Mitra program and Varun Mitra. Now we are going to have this Jaiva Mitra program for the bioenergy. So that is skilling program we already have, and we can also think of having a bigger program separately for the middle level and the higher level entrepreneurs. Yes.
Great. I mean, I think these conversations can go on for long, but people do need a break. So I'm going to request if we conclude the panel here. I'm not going to sort of spend time and effort in bringing all these diverse inputs again and summarize. I think it's a fairly rich conversation, really bringing various facets, be it financing, be it investments, be it policy, be it how micro-entrepreneurship needs to be supported on the ground. With that, let me conclude the panel and thank all four of you for all your rich inputs and being super efficient in responding to some of the audience questions. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you to the esteemed panelists and Abhishek for such an engaging discussion. I am sure there is much for us to process and further converse about, as Abhishek already pointed out. We would request you to continue these conversations while energizing yourself over some tea and snacks served at the back of the hall. Please also take the time to walk through the exhibition in the foyer as the entrepreneurs and end users supported by the Powering Livelihoods team are showcasing their DRE technologies and products. Please do regroup here at 5:25 p.m. sharp for our next segment, where we will discuss conversions and partnerships in the DRE livelihood sector and also have the presence of Honorable Minister Shri Raj Kumar Singh. Thank you. Hello everyone, requesting you to take your seats as we would like to commence again in the next 5 minutes. Thank you.
They have to stay like that.
All right, welcome back everyone. Thank you for helping us sticking to the time schedule. Hope you are powered up for this next segment. I am sure there are many incomplete conversations in the room, but we request you to kindly take them up again later during the networking dinner. So, it was once said, one person can't whistle a symphony. It takes a whole orchestra to play it. And just as a symphony needs musicians to work collaboratively, the DRE solutions need a high level of cooperation and partnership for us to create a symphony of improved livelihoods in rural India. In this segment, we will unpack conversions and partnerships in the DRE sector. To start it off, I would like to call upon Varun Raheja, founder and director of Raheja Solo Food Processing, to talk about lessons he has learned about partnerships from his journey as an entrepreneur.
Hello everyone. I hope you are having a great time. This is Varun Raheja. I am the founder and director of Raheja Solo Food Processing. So basically, we are a social enterprise started 6 years back to support farmers earn a better income. When I talk about better income, I talk about like how can we give them the highest value for their produce, the precious produce that our farmers are growing. And that's where we are coming. But let me start with the fact that you won't believe that Indian farmers are losing 90,000 crore every year in post-harvest losses. 90,000 crore. You heard right. And it's a hard truth that at today's time, the one who is feeding us is actually sleeping hungry. But with the support of Powering Livelihood, Villgro and CEEW, we see the change is near. And it is here. But let me take you to a few years back when we started the company. So you can see on the screen, we have launched our first solar dryer with my mentor, Dr. Janak Palta Magaligan, who is Padma Shri in Sustainable Development, and a non-environmentalist, Dr. Vandana Shiva. Like when we were launching the product, before that there was a 3 years of journey when we were thinking about what to do, how to increase the income of farmers. And after doing 3 years of research, we got to know solar drying came out to be the most profitable business. You heard a lot about solar drying till now. You have seen and tasted the product on our panel. And you won't believe it is 10 times more profitable than any other solution in post-harvest management. And that's why we closed the eyes and started Raheja Solo Food Processing. And with the passion in engineering, we actually developed the most affordable and DIY foldable dryer, which you can see. And this dryer is not just a one-time solution. What we have been exploring with different farmers is different quality of the product, how to get the highest quality at the farm level. And once you have the highest quality, where is the highest rate? So we come again the picture that solar drying is not just a one solution. You need the hand holding so that farmer can have the highest quality product and the market support so that they can sell their product. We've been working all across India in every state from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from Gujarat to Arunachal Pradesh. We are working in different regions. In Kashmir, we are drying the berries. And in Rajasthan, we are drying rose petals. In Andhra Pradesh, we are drying the mango. And in Arunachal Pradesh, we are drying the spices. And all these products which otherwise goes waste are now coming in the dried premium packaged product, which we buy back from the farmers so they don't have to worry. And then we sell it to the end market. Now, this is a very simple model, like a solar drying system, but at the same point, how we can work together with the micro entrepreneurs, that's the clarity we want. But when we joined Powering Livelihood, one thing that we understood that you can't solve this problem all alone. The problem is humongous, that 90,000 crore problem is humongous, and we need a lot of partners. So to do so, we work with a lot of partners on ground. We identify those rural entrepreneurs. We identify those progressive farmers who are the most admired farmers in the village. We identify the NGOs, the ground partners who have worked on the ground since last 40 years. We partner with them. With the help of Powering Livelihood, we got supported with a lot of partnership like J-Wires in Bihar, UPSRM, Prerna Ojas in UP, with whom we support the rural entrepreneurs, help them, handhold them, and make them expert. Make them expert of this technology so that they can become a part of this community. And further, we buy back their product, and we have a lot of product range, a lot of brands out there in India. Almost 350 brands are buying this product from us. So that's the community that we are trying to build. Not just with affordable technology, but also with the hand-holding so that they can have the highest value and the highest price for their product. And after successfully implementing this product all across India with 35,000 farmers and 3,500 machines, like our farmers always say one thing, that ab dar nahi hai. Just one thing that actually makes me happy every time, that dar nahi hai. अब सुबह सुबह मंडी में फ़ोन करते हैं, बाजार में रेट नहीं मिलता तो सुखा लेते हैं और सुखाने के बाद आपको बेच देते हैं. तो जो पहले टेंशन होती थी कि बाजार में रेट मिलेगा कि नहीं, वो टेंशन अब नहीं है. That डर नहीं है actually make the impact, and that is only possible with all the partnership that we have done on ground. And I could say this affordable technology is becoming an integral part of the farming, and we believe that the future is actually ours. It's our Indian farmer future. Let's work together to make our farmers independent. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Raheja, for highlighting that no one actor can solve a problem that's at a system level, but it requires partnerships to do so. So let's now understand from some of our other experts how we can act together for inclusive and sustainable livelihoods. By a discussion that will be moderated by Janan Lilani Bhargav, COO of Villgro Innovation Foundation. I would also like to call upon stage our esteemed panelists, Gaurav Mehta, founder and CEO of Dharma Life, Rahul Kumar, CEO of Jivika, Tanya Kothari, Regional Manager India at Shell Foundation, and Shashank Kumar, founder and CEO of Dihat. I kindly request your presence on the stage. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. It's really, really wonderful to see such a large audience after such a long time. We've had a very exciting day today. It started off by hearing about actual users of DRE products, right? And through the course of the day, then we also heard from entrepreneurs like Varun right now, and also from other stakeholders. And I think the vein that's running through all of this is that what's made this work is good partnerships, strong partnerships, right? And that's what we're here to discuss today. I have with me a panel of really fantastic people, human beings first. I've had the pleasure of getting to know most of them over the last few days. And I think the kind of rich experience and deep experience that each of them bring is really something that I hope we can bring out over the next 1 hour. Right? So I'm not going to talk about why partnerships are important. I think we all know why, and I think everybody in this room is here today because you believe that partnerships are important, and you want to play a part there. I'm going to get right to it, and I'd like to start with Pushpendra ji. Pushpendra ji, Jivika, you work at a very, very large scale, right? और आप कई संस्थाओं के साथ काम कर चुके हैं ऑलरेडी और काम कर रहे हैं. तो क्या आप हमें बता सकते हैं कि जीविका, when it comes to DRE products, when it comes to partnerships, आपने क्या अप्रोच लिया है और अब तक अगर आपने कोई challenges फेस किए हैं वो कौन से हैं?
Thank you. मैं पहले ये बताना चाहूँगा कि जीविका बिहार में 1,30,00,000 परिवार के साथ में काम कर रही है। लगभग 10.45 लाख SHGs है हमारे, 70,000 विलेज ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, 1600 क्लस्टर लेवल फेडरेशन है, 39 प्रोड्यूसर कंपनी है जो आज के समय में बज वर्ड्स है। लगभग 100 दीदी की रसोईज़ हैं, और दीदी की रसोई के बारे में मैं अगर ये बता दूं कि बिहार में जो हॉस्पिटल में भोजन दिया जाता है मरीज को, वो दीदी की रसोई के माध्यम से दिया जाता है, और उसमें क्वालिटी काफ़ी ज़्यादा इम्प्रूव की है। 30,000 करोड़ रुपए का बैंक फिनांसिंग है और 1.42% NPA पे बैंक फाइनेंसिंग है। 60,000 करोड़ रुपीज़ का ट्रांजेक्शन्स है, और ये सब उस माहौल में है जहाँ पे बिहार में CD रेशियो 50% के आसपास है। तो निश्चित ही ये जो पार्टनरशिप की बात है, वो जीविका किस तरीके से पार्टनरशिप करती है, इस पे मैं थोड़ा सा आपके सामने बातों को रखना चाहूँगा। बेसिकली जो पार्टनरशिप है, मैं ये कह सकता हूँ कि हमने गवर्नमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन होते हुए लगभग 60 लोगों के साथ में पार्टनरशिप कर रखी है, और वो पार्टनरशिप हरदम रिजल्ट ओरिएंटेड रही है, कम्युनिटी की आशाओं पे खरी उतरती हुई रही है। तो अगर हम पार्टनरशिप करते हैं तो जो सबसे बड़ी बात होती है कि प्राइमरीली डिस्कशन होता है, मीटिंग होती है, फील्ड विजिट होती है, और फील्ड विजिट में हम ये समझना चाहते हैं, ये जो जिसके साथ पार्टनरशिप होता है वो समझें कि जो प्रोडक्ट लेके जा रहे हैं या जिस प्रोजेक्ट के अंतर्गत वो काम करना चाहते हैं वो क्या उस कम्युनिटी के लिए सूट कर रहा है कि नहीं कर रहा है। ये हम लोग कम से कम 1 महीने की बात करते हैं। देन उसके बाद में जो SHG के साथ में या जो DO का है या जो CLF का है, वो इकोसिस्टम कैसा है वहाँ पे, क्या वो इकोसिस्टम जो ऑब्जेक्टिव के साथ पार्टनर आ रहा है उसको पूरा करने वाला है या कि कहीं पे कुछ डिस्कनेक्ट होने वाला है। इसी तरीके से जब ये हो जाता है तो पायलट की शुरुआत होती है। पायलट के बाद में हम MOU करते हैं, और MOU जो है वो जो बेसिक MOU होता है वो MOU थोड़ा सा 7-8 प्रखंडों से होता है या ब्लॉक से होता है, कुछ SHG से होता है, और उसके बाद में उसका एक क्लियर पिक्चर इमर्ज हो जाता है। ये रिप्लिकेबल हो सकता है, अगर रिप्लिकेबल है तो हम उसको अपने एनुअल एक्शन प्लान का पार्ट बनाते हैं, और अगर ये रिप्लिकेबल नहीं है तो हम दोनों बैठ के सोचते हैं कि आखिर कहाँ पे किससे गलती हुई। ये हमारे पार्टनरशिप का आधार है। तो अगर मैं बात कहूँ तो आज की डेट पे चूँकि हम गवर्नमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, और गवर्नमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ में पार्टनरशिप करना आप सभी जान रहे हैं कितना बड़ा चैलेंजिंग होता है, लेकिन हमने गवर्नमेंट के अंदर ही इंडस्ट्री डिपार्टमेंट के साथ में पार्टनरशिप कर रखी है, जिसमें PMFME, PMEGP, मुद्रा और हब एंड स्पोक मॉडल पे एक सिलाई सेंटर हम लोगों ने चालू किया है, जिसका टर्नओवर आज की डेट पे लगभग 20 करोड़ के आसपास है, मुजफ्फरपुर में है। इसी तरीके से हम हेल्थ डिपार्टमेंट के साथ पार्टनरशिप किए हुए हैं। फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट के साथ में हमने पार्टनरशिप करके लगभग महिलाओं तक 2,80,00,000 प्लांट डिस्ट्रीब्यूट किए हैं पिछले 4 से 5 सालों में। हमारी लगभग 240 नर्सरी काम कर रही हैं। हमने एग्रीकल्चर डिपार्टमेंट के साथ पार्टनरशिप कर रखा है, हमने एक्साइज डिपार्टमेंट के साथ पार्टनरशिप कर रखा है, एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट के साथ में पार्टनरशिप कर रखा है, और जब हम बैंक्स की बात कर रहे हैं तो हमारे पास कॉमर्शियल बैंक के साथ में पार्टनरशिप है। और ये सब पार्टनरशिप मैं जो बोल रहा हूँ, तो चूँकि हम गवर्नमेंट के पार्ट है तो MOU एक्सचेंज जो है वो गवर्नमेंट के साथ में थोड़ा सा कम है, लेकिन काम है हमारा उनके साथ में। लेकिन जो बात बाकी जो बैंक की बात हो रही है, जो LIC की बात हो रही है, उनके साथ में हमारा MOU एक्सचेंज है। हम बंधन के साथ में पार्टनरशिप किए हुए हैं। क्योंकि मैं LIC का यहाँ पे जिक्र कर रहा हूँ, आपने सुना होगा कि ग्रामीण क्षेत्रों में जो बीमा है वो उतने बड़ी स्केल पे नहीं हो पाता, लेकिन हम 55 लाख मेंबर के साथ बीमा किए, प्रधानमंत्री जीवन ज्योति बीमा योजना, प्रधानमंत्री सुरक्षा बीमा योजना। इसी तरीके से हमने SIDBI के साथ में पार्टनरशिप कर रखा है, हमने ICICI बैंक के साथ में पार्टनरशिप कर रखा है, SDFC के साथ पार्टनरशिप कर रखे हैं। और यहाँ पे जिस फोरम पे मैं बैठा हूँ, थैंक्स विलग्रो और CEEW, इनके साथ में भी हमारा पार्टनरशिप है। हम प्रधान के साथ पार्टनरशिप किए हुए हैं, हम IIT मुंबई के साथ पार्टनरशिप किए हुए हैं, हम IIMC कलकत्ता के साथ पार्टनरशिप किए हुए हैं, हम IIM बोधगया के साथ पार्टनरशिप किए हुए हैं, हम प्रथम के साथ में पार्टनरशिप किए हुए हैं, हम EESL के साथ में पार्टनरशिप किए हुए हैं। तो जो आप क्वेश्चन मेरे से पूछ रही हैं तो थोड़ा सा मेरे लिए चैलेंज है कि पार्टनरशिप में इशू कौन से, ये बताना मेरे लिए थोड़ा सा टफ है। लेकिन उसके बाद भी जो इशू आते हैं, चूंकि हम गवर्नमेंट प्रोग्राम है तो हमारे लिए कहीं ना कहीं जब हम अगर MFI की बात करें तो रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट को लेकर इशू आते हैं, क्योंकि हमारी गवर्नमेंट ने, हमारी सरकार ने, माननीय मुख्यमंत्री ने ये बोल रखा कि मेंबर टू SHG का जो ट्रांजेक्शन हो 1% से ज़्यादा नहीं हो सकता महीने में। तो जब हम MFI के साथ जाना चाहते हैं तो हमें वहाँ पे थोड़ा परेशानी आएगी, क्योंकि HDFC और ICICI बैंक भी कुछ बोलते हैं, लेकिन हमारा जो उनके साथ पार्टनरशिप है वो 12% सालाना रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट है। तभी भी उन्होंने हमें बहुत कुछ बताया था कि अगर ये हो जाएगा तो फिर हम इस तरीके से कर लेंगे, लेकिन हमने कहा था कि पहले 12% पे ही आइए। तो क्यों हम गवर्नमेंट के ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है तो कुछ गवर्नमेंट की हमारे पास में बंधन भी हैं। दूसरा जो है कि जो रोल है कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग का वो बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है अगर पार्टनर के साथ हैं। और कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग बड़े स्केल पे किस तरीके से की जाए, ये जो भी पार्टनरशिप होती है वो पार्टनर को सोचना पड़ता है। दूसरा, कई बार क्या होता है कि जो पार्टनर आते हैं वो थोड़ा सा उनके पास टाइम कम है, और जब हम कम्युनिटी इंस्टीट्यूशन के साथ बात करते हैं तो वहाँ पे एक ही फैक्टर काम कर रहा है कि आप समय दीजिए, तब आगे संवाद हो पाएगा। इनिशियल दौर में मैं जो CWA पार्टनरशिप की बात करूँ, जो पावरिंग लाइवलीहुड है, हम 4 महीने कुछ भी नहीं कर पाए, लेकिन अप्रैल में जब हम लोगों ने बताया तो हमने लगभग 30 प्रोडक्ट जो है वो सेल किए हुए हैं। और मैं थैंक्स देना चाहूँगा, यहाँ पे देवी दयाल सोलर के फाउंडर बैठे हुए हैं। बिहार में विद्युत विभाग के सामने ही सोलर का जो नीरा का कोल्ड चैन का सेंटर है, जहाँ पे आप विद्युत विभाग के सामने हो स्टैब्लिश है। तो कहीं ना कहीं 2-3 चीज़ हैं जिनको हमें ध्यान देने की ज़रूरत होगी। जब पार्टनर आए तो थोड़ा सा बड़ा टाइम होरिजन लेके आए, थोड़ा सा जो इन्वेस्टमेंट, मैं इन्वेस्टमेंट पे बात बिल्कुल नहीं कहूँगा, क्योंकि इन्वेस्टमेंट अगर हमारे म्यूचुअल एग्रीमेंट होते हैं तो इन्वेस्टमेंट जीविका भी करती कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग में, लेकिन कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग का प्लान लेके आए तो मुझे लगता है कि अगर यहाँ से हम लोग आगे बढ़ेंगे तो ये हर एक SRLM की यही स्थिति है। और आप शायद इस बात को जान रहे होंगे कि NRLM, नेशनल रूरल लाइवलीहुड मिशन ने 10 करोड़ SHG, 1 करोड़ SHG और 12 करोड़ महिलाओं को जोड़ने की बात कही है। तो पूरे देश में जो एक माहौल है वो लाइवलीहुड पर से एक अच्छा बन रहा है, बैंक आगे आ रहे हैं। तो मुझे लग रहा है कि पार्टनरशिप में 2-3 चीज़ों को अगर हटा दिया जाए, जिनको थोड़ा सा देखने की जरूरत होगी, तो बात बाकी NRLM और SRLM एग्री है पार्टनरशिप को बड़े स्केल पे ले जाने के लिए। थैंक यू।
Thank you, Pushpendra ji. I think you've touched upon many points. Firstly, I think, one of the successes that you've been able to achieve in Jivika in Bihar is because the way you've approached partnerships is looking at it from a multi-stakeholder perspective, right? आपने banks के बारे में बात की है, आपने दूसरे state departments के बारे में बात की है, आपने बात की है कि on ground at a community level also, how do you look at capacity building, how do you even get the community mobilized, right? So multiple levels of partnership have resulted in Bihar being successful when it comes to a livelihoods promotion program. Right? And दूसरी बात जो आपने बात की है, which is I think extremely important for the audience here, which is on what does it take when you come to an organization like Jivika, which has such tremendous reach and tremendous strength. Number one, you need to keep in mind that it is going to take time. Right? So come with patience. And number two, capacity building is something you value very much, and capacity building is something that gives you better results. So also come in with that frame of mind. Those are two extremely important points, Pushpendra ji. And I think that brings me to my question for you, Gaurav, and your work with Dharmalife. I think at Dharmalife you've been able to do fantastic work over these years, and I think the fact that the number of people you've reached is over 14 million from what I last saw. And to be able to do that, when we were talking earlier, you talked a lot about community level partnerships. And arguably, community level partnerships form, in my opinion, possibly the best and the most important kind of partnership for any of this to really take off, right? Are there any certain principles that you can share with the audience today that you've learned while working with communities that actually was set you up to be able to work with communities at such a large scale? Are there principles that we can learn from you?
Sure. So I think we've been doing this now for 12 years. There have been many ups and downs. So I think you talk about the end number, which is still a work in progress. But clearly the learnings have been, that without a community level engagement or a partnership, it is not possible to do what we are attempting to do. So what we do normally when we enter a community is that we actually meet key opinion leaders at the village level. So before appointing someone in that village, so that this could be the local sarpanch, right, the local or mukhya. It could be other key opinion leaders like the ASHA worker, the Anganwadi worker. So we build these relationships at the village level and actually tell them that we are here to make a difference in your community. How can we do this? And can you actually help us? Because mostly they anyways have their own plans already. So that's the first step. Once we have that discussion, we ask them who could be someone in the community who could lead this for us. And then we select, it has to be a woman who is kind of deserving of, wants to create a livelihood. So we get references from them. And then actually, with those references, we interview, have a structured process. It obviously cannot be also biased, right? So it has to be a very structured kind of process. Once we have done that, then we appoint one woman from that village, and then she becomes our change maker. So that's the level of partnership. And really what happens is the change then happens from within. We are trying to make change inside out, not outside in. And that's the key for us. And that's now, then with that partnership, that lady may be a first-time entrepreneur. It usually is, right? So first time in her job role. And so then the first step after that is to build her confidence. So because we've taken references from the community, they will also support her. So then we do an event, announce her in the village, and she builds her confidence. And then she is actually, we track the outcomes at her level because it gets empowered. But with her empowerment, the community also gets more and more empowered. And this is kind of the journey we go through. And these journeys take a long time. I think Pushpinder ji, आपने बोला कि बहुत समय लगता है. हमें भी सालों साल लगते हैं करने में. We take 3 to 5 years or 3 to 4 years. The first 3 to 6 months, 1 year are very important, but usually that's when the drop-off happens. But then after that, when they survive that, then it becomes really, empowered community. And actually, again, you've asked me to come here, the women should come. I think there'll be much better voices in such forums, and we do that, and I hope next time we can do that here as well. So.
Thank you, Gaurav. I really liked what you said about the principle, I think, is inside out and not outside in when it comes to partnerships. And a big learning there is, even when you're talking about scale, the principle of continuing to work as closely and as purposefully at the community level remains, no matter what scale your organization really goes to, right? Tanya, I'd like to come to you next. Shell Foundation has been a supporter of the entire DRE space in a number of ways. Yeah, you've supported organizations like Villgro and CEEW. You also work with a number of social enterprises. And I think the vantage point that you're at when it comes to really seeing the whole DRE ecosystem evolve is something we'd really like to hear from. So in your opinion, how has it evolved? What are the types of partnerships that you see are picking up steam? Where do you feel gaps still remain and something needs to be done?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I think Shell Foundation's bread and butter has been supporting the DRE sector over the past number of years. And some of the more successful partnerships that we've already seen happening have been in relation to social enterprises who are trying to create impact on energy access, scaling via partnerships such as last mile distribution partnerships with other distribution networks, or a different type of product design partnerships. And partnering with each other. I think one of the big successes of the sector that we've seen is industry associations like Gogla, like Clean, coming and advocating for the sector as a whole, and innovators and enterprises sharing their insights with each other to create this voice. I think one area, or actually a few areas where there are gaps which going forward, which need to be addressed in terms of partnerships. One big one is moving beyond the DRE sector. So I think that's one thing that Powering Livelihoods has done really well, with the focus, because of the focus on livelihoods. DRE is just an enabler for these livelihoods. The livelihoods are being created in certain value chains, so ensuring that we are partnering, the DRE sector is partnering with those value chains. So for example, in agriculture, partnering with organizations that are creating market linkages, who have built trust with farmers, who are actually providing that income to farmers. How can DRE then come in and improve productivity or reduce losses and increase incomes for farmers? That's the way to think about it. The other point, actually very good point that Pushpendraji raised around time investment in partnerships. So while time investment is very important, resource investment is also equally important. So not just signing the partnership, because partnerships can become a buzzword as well. So not just signing partnerships or announcing large partnerships, but also putting in the time and effort to execute the partnerships. And I think that's where we are seeing a bit of, maybe not gap, but it's slow in the sector. Because while there are really good partnerships on investments, blended finance now happening, more traction on that, but still, and that's also because of the climate finance funding flows now more available for the DRE sector. We are still seeing some challenge in execution, where more resource investment is required. I think the third thing would be on partnerships, not thinking about partnerships first as a pilot and then looking at how to scale it, but already having the KPIs or the results that you want to see from the pilot to then be able to scale. So I also liked the example of your enforcement of interest rates with the bank already, thinking about scale, not starting from something and then tweaking the model for scale. So these would be the three key areas.
Thanks, Tanya. Those are a number of points you've mentioned. But I think one of the things that really stuck with me was you said that Shell Foundation has looked at both partnerships within enterprises, right? Within the ecosystem amongst each other, and how Shell Foundation has also supported different networks which are making the space grow. But we've reached a point where now we also need to start looking at partnerships beyond the close-knit DRE space and go beyond that to see how can other types of avenues really accelerate. And that really brings me to you, Shashank. So thanks, Tanya, for the good segue. DeHaat has done a fantastic job working with millions of farmers. And we wanted to pick your brains a little bit when it comes to market linkages. From your experience at DeHaat, have you seen a significant difference in supporting market linkages for raw agricultural produce as opposed to value-added products?
Obvious answer is yes. We all are, I think, very well aware of almost 40% post-harvest loss at a national level on year-on-year basis across the crops we grow. And that's primarily because of the number of layers. And then in a country like India, obviously, we have understood probably over the years that centralized value addition is going to be very, very difficult. So overall, I think it has to be a decentralized, value addition. And the simple reason is because, again, number of crops, different regional requirements, local requirements. But yes, going back to your question, obviously, I think aggregation of the raw versus the value addition, the obvious answer is yes. And if I just take few examples, and the value addition can be accomplished in any form, right? The value addition is not just a very high-end processing. It can be maybe just farm level sorting, grading, farm level processing, right? Value addition can also be in form of right information. Value addition can also be in form of traceability. And obviously it can be in form of drying or any kind of secondary or tertiary processing as well. Simple example, and I'm sure Pushpenji will correlate. I mean, back in 2012 and 13, when we started aggregating fresh lychee from Bihar, and we started selling all the way from Bihar to Bangalore. Can you imagine the first ask in terms of value addition we expected or we received, that can you leave 4 or 5 leaves in that bunch or guchha, right? Because that will be an indication of freshness. Right? There was just a simple information. But again, our overall agri value chain it's such a long tail that flow of information is not, is not there almost on real-time basis, right? Obviously, those were the early days, right? I mean, and it was just a simple information we passed on to the farmers, and farmers like, sir, 5 क्यों 20 पत्ते छोड़ देते हैं, एक्स्ट्रा पैसे मिल रहे हैं, वजन भी एक्स्ट्रा, रेट भी ऐसा, तो गुच्छे ही पत्ते ही छोड़ने. तो again, I think it's a no-brainer. But yes, and we all know, I think nothing new I'm saying. But the good part is that I think ecosystem is now mature, so that I think the value addition can be accomplished, whether at an individual level or at an institution level, whether an individual micro entrepreneur or FPO or maybe a large enterprise, whomsoever. So whether an ecosystem in terms of right policy, right physical or digital connectivity, and more importantly also the expectation, because the market is demanding fresh produce, better quality, right directly from the source, some bit of scope of customization. So there is a huge scope of value addition. So now it's not just in theory that raw material versus the value addition. And over the years, when today as an organization at DeHaat, you'll be happy to hear that every day we aggregate 4,000 ton of produce every day across maybe region or across produce. And I think this is something what somehow we built our expertise over the years, that how for every single crop, what kind of value addition can be done, and what kind of let's say demand market basically has, whether in terms of pre-harvest or post-harvest. But it's a journey.
I think that's super encouraging to hear, and I want to come back to you and ask you a few more deeper questions, because I feel especially for the entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs in the room, they're going to want to know some more from you, but I'll come back. I'd like to go to Gaurav. Gaurav, in your experience within the DRE segment, which are the segments where you see, or the sub-segments where you've seen that partnerships have worked well across the value chain? And are there some transferable learnings we can take for other sub-segments within DRE?
So I think we have experimented with lots of use cases, but one of them which has worked well is the solar drying one. I think that has been mentioned today a couple of times, but I think solar drying has really worked for us, both in terms of the ROI covered. I think the example I'll quote is in Uttarakhand, we've seen more than 30% increases in ROI for drying spices, various products. And I think the interesting thing was that we started off with it also went through a journey of kind of incubation, and the learnings there are, the first dryer we gave for free, we had to sample it and we installed it, and we measured the ROI in a 6-month study. Then we linked out, created all the linkages from the selling the produce, the first product was free, the training modules, everything. The second and to 6th dryer were then sold commercially because the ROI worked, but we had to still finance them. So we financed them in multiple installments. So that's and then we realized that the third point, that actually the operation of the dryer, what do you dry, how do you link, that had to be done in a training module. So that was not part of the sales plan. So we set up an LMS, or learning management system, under our JIA program to have digital learning for this cooperative. So I think the transferable learnings which I would put, I think there were 4 levels of partnerships, or again, you can call them partnerships or building blocks, which can be done directly or with partners to actually succeed. So the first one was seeding the product. The second, so that's more a social partnership. The second one was around building, the last mile delivery which we did. But the third one was around the training, and the fourth was on the financing of the product later. I think they overlap, obviously. It moves from grant to financing. So here, the partners involved for FMO for the loan, in our working capital line, the IKEA Foundation, Good Energies, Tune Partnership for the training and skilling and supply chain, and then similarly, GIZ, and similarly, the final one was around the community level, again, the forward linkage. So we were initially drying mushrooms, right, and selling mushrooms. So then again, community sales partnerships to actually, mushrooms are not really a product, which is we had to first also select the crops, which were more ROI positive, herbs and mushrooms. So then building them, the sales model in the community, or linking them forward to urban markets as the next partnership. So just that's a quick summary. I mean, lots of learnings here, but I hope that is useful in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I encourage everyone in this room, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about that, you can also speak with, of course, with Gaurav, but also do talk to Varun Raheja, who just spoke about his company, right? I'd like to talk now a little bit more about gender inclusion in this topic, and I think it's something that can't be ignored. I think we all know, we've all heard the evidence of how climate change disproportionately affects women, and how actually the DRE space lends itself very well to livelihood opportunities for women. I'd like to first speak to you, Pushpendra ji, because in Bihar, the establishment of self-help groups, Mahilaye Sangate jo hai, it's been established very, very well. Right? You were saying earlier about how the strength of SAGs is something that is very, very visible in Bihar. When it comes to DRE as a livelihood solution, getting greater access and going deeper into self-help groups in Bihar, वो करने के लिए what type of partnerships are required? How can we get more DRE products to be actually embedded in the self-help group system?
पहले तो मैं कुछ पार्टनर को देख रहा हूँ जिनका नाम मैंने लिया नहीं, तो उनके लिए मैं सॉरी बोलता हूँ क्योंकि बड़ी लिस्ट है मेरे पास में। क्लीन बैठे हुए हैं, सिड भी बैठे हुए हैं, तो मैं कई लोगों का जब मैं इधर देख रहा हूँ तो कुछ लोगों का नाम मैंने नहीं लिया, तो इसके लिए सॉरी बोलता हूँ। जब हम बिहार में बात करते हैं तो एसएचजी में जेंडर इंक्लूजन जो हमने एसएचजी बनाए हुए हैं महिलाओं के ही बनाए हुए हैं, और जो इक्विटी की बात होती है और इक्वलिटी की बात होती है, तो इक्वलिटी अगर आएगी तो इक्विटी के साथ में आएगी। जो बिहार के गांव में कॉमन कॉन्सेप्ट था आज से 12-13 साल पहले, ज़्यादातर लोग जो महिलाएं थी वो बाहर नहीं निकलना चाहती थी क्योंकि उनके ऊपर प्रेशर था, कुछ प्रेशर था। लेकिन जब जीविका जैसे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन और ये सब पार्टनर, मैं जीविका बस की बात नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, और जो इनेबलिंग इन्वायरमेंट बना बिहार में गवर्नमेंट के द्वारा, और ये इनेबलिंग इन्वायरमेंट जो बना इसमें विश्व बैंक ने सपोर्ट किया, इसमें सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने सपोर्ट किया, लेकिन ये पूरे के पूरे इनिशिएटिव हमारी स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के द्वारा शुरुआती दौर में लिए गए थे। तो जब बात होती है कि ये जो इनेबलिंग इन्वायरमेंट आज बना है और जो ट्रांजैक्शंस का वॉल्यूम है, मैं इसके लिए कह सकता हूँ 70,000 करोड़ रुपए का जो ट्रांजैक्शंस हुआ है वो महिलाओं के द्वारा परिवार के पास में गया है। तो आज जो महिला बोलती है उसको परिवार सुनने को तैयार है। क्यों? क्योंकि वो पैसा जो बिहार में आ रहा है वो महिला के जरिए ज़्यादा आ रहा है। ये एक बड़ा चेंज आया है, क्योंकि अगर बिहार में हम बैंकिंग की बात करें, मैंने शुरू में ही बोला था कि 52% CD रेशियो है, नेशनल CD रेशियो 77% है। पूरे 2010 से लेके अभी तक जो SLBC के अगर आप पेपर देखेंगे तो 45,000 करोड़ रुपीस के ही जो एग्रीकल्चर लोन दिए गए हैं। तो ये, और दूसरी तरफ ये है कि लगभग 17 लाख SHG को रिपीट फाइनेंसिंग कराया गया है। तो जो आप बोल रही कि पावरिंग लाइवलीहुड को ले जाने के लिए किस तरीके की पार्टनरशिप रिक्वायरमेंट होगी, तो मैं आपको एक एग्जाम्पल बताना चाहता हूँ। राजगीर में हमारी टीम बात कर रही थी, आलोक बैठे हुए हैं, जितेंद्र बैठे हुए हैं, ये लोग बात कर रहे थे, तो उन्होंने बोला कि हमें 2 फोल्डर स्टेशन चाहिए। तो इनका क्वेश्चन था कि आपने घर में बात कर ली है क्या? उनका ये कहना था कि ज़रूरत हमें है कि घर वालों को है। ये महिलाएं डिसीजन ले रही हैं बिहार पे। यहाँ से आप समझ सकते हैं कि महिलाओं का एम्पावरमेंट किस तरीके से चीज़ों को या लाइवलीहुड के प्रॉस्पेक्ट को अपने नज़रिए से देखता है। आप सवाल रहा कि पावरिंग लाइवलीहुड को लेके निश्चित ही बिहार में बिजली है और सब जगह बिजली है, लेकिन उसके बाद भी जब हम देवी दयाल सोलर की बात करते हैं और उसकी डीप फ्रीजर की बात करते हैं, तो आपको मैं बताऊं कि बिहार में शराबबंदी है और इस साल का जो टारगेट है 1 करोड़ लीटर नीरा बेचने की बात है। और ये कोई एक जगह से नहीं है, ये गांव-गांव से है। गांव-गांव में जब बिजली के कनेक्शन की बात होती है तो इतना इजीली अवेलेबल नहीं हो पाता है। तो ये एक सेक्टर निकल सकता है जहां पे हम बहुत अच्छे तरीके से आगे जा सकते हैं। लेकिन परेशानी कहाँ पे आ रही है? परेशानी आ रही है प्राइस के इशू पे। जो एक्सेप्टेंस है या बिलिंगनेस टू पे है, जो हम लोगों ने चेक किया, वो लगभग 50,000 के आसपास 250 लीटर का स्टैंड कर रहा है। पैसे की कमी नहीं है, क्योंकि पैसा एसएचजी मॉडल है जहाँ पे वो पैसा ले सकती है। और आज भी जो 30 जो हम लोगों ने डिप्लॉय किए हैं टेक्नोलॉजी, उसमें कहीं ये नहीं आया कि हमें पैसा नहीं मिल रहा है। पैसा एसएचजी के पास है, एसएचजी की मेंबर है, अगर वो फिनेंशियली डिसिप्लिन्ड है तो उन्हें पैसा इजीली मिल सकता है। मेरा ये कहना है कि थोड़ा सा दायरे को बढ़ाना होगा। जैसे हम स्विंग मशीन की ओर कैसे मूव कर सकते हैं, इसको क्या हम एड ऑन कर सकते हैं। दूसरा, बिहार में रोड साइड में गन्ने का ठेला काफ़ी लगता है, लेकिन वो चलता किससे है? वो डीजल सेट से चलता है। क्या कुछ ऐसी टेक्नोलॉजी आ सकती है जो उसको रिप्लेस कर दे? और निश्चित ही उसको लेने वाले लोग होंगे। देन उसके बाद में जो मैं आपके सामने बता, ड्रायर, चूँकि देहात के फाउंडर हैं और इनका काफ़ी ज़्यादा बिहार के प्रॉस्पेक्ट में एग्रीकल्चर में रोल है, एग्रीकल्चर को आगे बढ़ाने में। तो समस्तीपुर हो गया, वैशाली हो गया, नालंदा हो गया, यहाँ पे बहुत एक्सेस सब्जी प्रोड्यूस होती है। और अगर ड्रायर को, जो अभी रहेजा के सीईओ बोल रहे थे, अगर प्रॉपरली हम पुश कर पाए तो नंबर कोई मैटर नहीं करेंगे बिहार के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में। वो हम ये कह सकते हैं कि इस फिनेंशियल ईयर में, एक साल में, नई नई टेक्नोलॉजी को हम 10 से 15 हज़ार तक लेके जा सकते हैं नंबर में, लेकिन प्राइसिंग। दूसरा, क्योंकि बिहार में जीविका ने एक अलग कंपनी बना रखी है जो सोलर और इन्वायरमेंटल सोल्यूशन और इलेक्ट्रिकल इफिशिएंट प्रोडक्ट को देखती है। वो जेवायर है, जीविका वुमेन इनिशिएटिव फॉर रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी एंड सोल्यूशन। उसका टर्नओवर पिछले 3 साल में 3 करोड़ से ज़्यादा है, और उसने 372 सोलर मार्ट खोल रखे हैं। जिस तरीके से देहात के फ्रेंचाइजी हैं, उसी तरीके से वो सोलर मार्ट है। और वो सोलर मार्ट लगभग 3500 हमें पहुंचाना है अगले 1-2 साल में। तो वो सोलर मार्ट करेंगे क्या? यही सोल्यूशन बताएंगे लोगों के पास में। क्यों? क्योंकि हम उनके जरिए बेचेंगे बस नहीं, रिपेयर और मेंटेनेंस की बात करेंगे, उनके जरिए उनके बाईबैक अरेंजमेंट की भी बात करेंगे, जो रहेजा सोलर बोल रहे हैं। तो इस तरीके से एक अच्छा इन्वायरमेंट बनेगा तो पावरिंग लाइवलीहुड को हमें बिहार में पुश करने में कोई दिक्कत नहीं रहेगी। बहुत अच्छे नंबर में निकलेंगे और ये बहुत ही अच्छा जेंडर इंक्लूसिव मॉडल होगा। थैंक यू।
Yes, I think an applause is definitely warranted. Pushpendra ji, thank you for sharing that. It's very, very good to hear that. And it's also very encouraging to hear about how well established, not just the whole self-help group system is, but also when it comes to decision making. And I think that becomes the indicator of true women empowerment, right? And equity when it comes to decision making in rural areas and whether women have the agency to do that. So thank you.
Just मैं इसमें एक पॉइंट और ऐड करना चाहूँगा। मैं कुछ डेवलप्ड स्टेट है जहाँ आज भी घूंघट यहाँ पे है, लेकिन बिहार का घूंघट यहाँ तक आ चुका है। आप उसको हमारे एसएचजी की मीटिंग में, वीओ की मीटिंग में और सीलेब की मीटिंग में देख सकते हैं।
Thank you, Pushpendra ji. Tanya, I'd like to come to you on gender inclusion, because Shell Foundation has definitely been leading the charge when it comes to applying a gender inclusive lens in this space. And in fact, a lot of the work that we did at Powering Livelihoods, just to share a snippet with the audience, not just when it came to women who are part of the teams, right, of these enterprises, but along the value chain, right? We tried to understand when it came to customers of DRE products, how many of them are women, and if you relate that to the sales teams in companies, the marketing teams, the way products are designed, we found a lot of areas where there could be tremendous improvement, right, to really align gender inclusion in a manner where it makes business sense. Right? It's not just a good do, where it actually helps the business grow. And Shell Foundation had a big part to play in helping us do that. So I think, Tanya, my question for you is, you've seen what it takes for partnerships within the gender inclusion space in DRE. You've seen what it takes for that to happen. Number one, can you share with us what made Shell Foundation think about this so deeply? Because I think the way we've experienced our partnership with you has been a very, very deep, well thought out approach to gender inclusion. So what made Shell Foundation come at it from that approach? And secondly, if you had to look forward a few years from now, what would you think would symbolize progress in partnerships for gender inclusion?
Thanks. So I'll first start with our approach to gender inclusion. Just to say, we also went through, so after supporting Powering Livelihoods and after all of our learnings from this program as well, we went through a strategy update exercise last year, and our new mandate is actually to ensure that at least 50% of the customers we want to impact for livelihood generation through clean energy is women across all of our portfolio globally. So I think, and that's been a journey to come to this point where there is buy-in from all facets of our organization. I think it always starts with champions in each organization, and this is true for any kind of partnership, but also for gender inclusion. What we've experienced is that a few champions within our organization who were more forward-thinking or more ambitious on our goals towards gender or impact on women through clean energy, they took this forward. And one of the biggest catalysts for us to integrate gender so deeply into all of our operations and our work and the way we think was also our partnership with FCDO. So FCDO India and Shell Foundation came together to create a dedicated funding stream. While we did do pilots, while we did do a lot of technical assistance for our portfolio, we were also working with Life quite closely, so a lot of learnings from that and other similar enterprises. But to create a dedicated ring-fenced funding source or pot of money to essentially focus on understanding the challenges that come with gender inclusion was created because of our partnership. And that's how then our partnership with Powering Livelihoods came, which was also again through champions in Villgro and CEEW who were pushing it forward and were willing to actually invest the time, resources, and invest in capacity building of your respective organizations as well to implement the program. So we, and as you already know, but for the audience here as well, the gender inclusion focus of Powering Livelihoods was not just at ensuring that the entrepreneurs being funded or their teams or leadership teams or implementation teams have a good balance of women or diversity of thought, but it was also to ensure that across their value chain, across their operations, their sales, their marketing channels, everything is gender inclusive, and we do believe that it's good for business, and that's where we've seen the success in this program as well. Majority of the end users are women. So that's been kind of our journey and why I think partnerships are also key to gender inclusion. Now, when an organization starts thinking about gender inclusion, the DRE space, the way to think about it should not be how we scale DRE via women or we make more products reach women, but as both Gaurav and Pushpendra ji have said, to start with the customer, start with the woman, have the organizations who have built over years and years of patient work, build trust and networks and understanding of what women need, the women end users need. So working with organizations like Life, like Jivika's huge network, trying to get that understanding right from there on what is the challenge that they're facing, what can any of those challenges be solved through DRE, what are the products that are being demanded by women, rather than pushing products that we think need to be scaled for them. So, and then ensuring that right from the product design, right from the get-go, gender lens is integrated. You can't have it as an afterthought later in the process. So that would be one big insight that we've had or learning that we've had, and how we would also encourage like the portfolio companies we have or partnerships we are looking at to have this customer-centric lens. I think one other trend or positive trend that we are seeing in the sector is also a lot of awareness about gender lens investment from different types of investors. So equity investors, different types of collaboratives, like the 2X collaborative being formed by DFI. So right from the top down, when the funding is being channeled towards DRE or towards livelihoods, there is a very strong, at least enthusiasm. So people are willing to talk about it, think about it, how to improve their own processes and investment into gender. So leverage that. So organizations that are working on solutions who are actually at the grassroots can leverage that by thinking about their own approach to gender. I think one important thing would also be, again, gender inclusion can also become a buzzword quite easily. So thinking about who is playing what role in the partnership. So if, is one organization bringing the knowledge about women, is one organization focusing on the product design, which is more gender inclusive. So thinking about the different roles that different organizations play towards achieving the common goal of more women empowered through DRE.
Thanks, Tani. I think that's super important because what you're saying is it's so important for the intent to be aligned across every partnership, right? And across every stakeholder, or even individuals that you're working with. And from my experience of working in Powering Livelihoods, I think what worked well is that intent alignment was very, very strong. And that's why, as you said, there were champions at every step of the way, and that intent and all of the resources, that network was then able to be channeled down right to the end users that we are talking about today. And on that forward-looking vein, I'm going to come back to you, Shashank, about Dehat. And how is it that programs like Powering Livelihoods, the entrepreneurs that we work with, how do you think we can leverage a platform like Dehat?
So, as on date, as Dehat, again, I mean, we are not practicing as such DRE, right? As on date, as a platform, as an organization, because our focus is pretty much building the supply chain, building a platform, which can be leveraged by any other stakeholder engine, right? And the construct of this platform is to build interoperability. And probably what Gaurav or Pushpenji was mentioning earlier, कि समय लगाना पड़ता है. So probably I think this platform can help in reducing the gestation period of any DRE innovators per se. And across value chain, right? Considering as a platform we are full stack, we are providing complete end-to-end services to farmers, right from seed to market. And again, at the same time, I think we could digitize this entire value chain. At the same time, again, we have built a great last mile supply chain, not in just one state, but again across 12 states, across 120,000 villages. Now this can be easily leveraged by any DRE innovators, I would say. For example, if someone has, let's say, innovation related to maybe irrigation or mechanization, they don't have to go and again start building relationship with the farmers because that will take time. But probably I think as a platform, it can be a plug and play for them. It can be a plug and play not just to start operating or start again, replicating the innovation, but also with the right selection of beneficiary. Okay. Similarly, let's say if someone has any, let's say, drying unit or any kind of processing unit, if they need right raw material, if they need right kind of pre-harvest intervention, the same thing. Again, you don't have to go and convince the farmers because we all understand that behavioral change it's very difficult at a farmer level. There is a very high degree of inertia. But when there is a platform where 2 million farmers have been transacting every month, every season, right, while buying input, while selling produce, while getting finance, while getting insurance, while getting advisory, that means there is a transaction-based trust. And hence probably in those cases, again, for the innovators getting the right raw material produced, it will require probably lesser gestation period. So is true, again, if someone requires just the raw material, probably again, you don't have to go and again start working for your own backward integration because as I said that already as a platform, we are handling more than 42 crops, respective more than 273 SKUs or varieties of those crops, such a high volume, and not just information, but also the complete supply chain, right? Across 146 districts, we have our warehouses, right? I mean, those infrastructure and network can be used by someone just with a plug and play to put their facility in terms of a micro processing or a micro cold storage or whatever. Not just that, also the demand side, right? Again, on the another side of the platform, we have more than 1,500 institutional buyers, not just within India, also outside of India. And when I said that, that 4,000 ton of agri produce every day we are aggregating, but you will be amazed to hear that the largest buyer on our platform is not even 5% of the total volume. So you can imagine that how much total institutional demand we have already aggregated. So that means again to that innovator, again probably they don't need to be worried to again build the market, build the demand, right? I mean, long story short, they can just focus on their core competency, which is just DRE based innovation and across value chain, whether it's mechanization, whether it's storage, whether it's processing, whether it's packaging or whatever. And that's the whole construct of the earth, right? And that's the only thing what we have been trying to build is a framework, is a platform where again people do not have to reinvent the wheel, क्योंकि as the fellow speakers rightly said कि समय लगाना पड़ता है और समय कम है हमारे पास.
On that note, actually, समय कम है हमारे पास. We don't have too much time for questions, but since I have so many more burning ones, I'm going to stop and I'm going to turn it over to you. What I'm super encouraged about is that we have ready partnerships in the making, so please do take advantage of this. But we have about 7 minutes for questions. So over to you all. See 2 hands up.
Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes.
Great. So thanks a lot for great panelist discussion over here. It's very encouraging and a lot of work that has been done. It's really commendable. So just want to bring out that we are also working in the solar sector. We have a disruptive and patented technology by which we are able to clean the solar panels automatically and double the power generation. So that is what we are doing, but I'm trying to explore how we can take it to rural, and already it has got a lot of climate impact, including environment and social, because solar workers who are cleaning the panels are exposed to very high risk. There is almost 1000 volt DC running in the solar panels. So, and they're cleaning it when the sun is at peak. The solar panels are having a temperature of almost 100 degrees. And that is a time when they're pouring a water of 20 degrees. So temperature differential can cause the cracks in the solar panels, and it can reverse the current of DC and electrocute the people who are working without any safety gear with them. Not only that, water is also affecting and making the whole area very slippery. So they can fall and there could be, fatalities. So there is a report from NCRB where so many people have died because of these things. Now, our technology saves these people. Their people are from rural, right? So my idea from you, I would like to seek the idea from the panel, how this technology can help these people in the rural areas who are actually, going through this unsafe working conditions, and can we help them in some way through your channel network partnerships that you are doing?
Sure.
So is there any possibility?
Thank you. Who would like to take that? Shashank?
मुझे लगता है कि हम आपका वेलकम करेंगे, आप आइए एक बार, और जो मैंने प्रोसेस बताया था उस प्रोसेस के साथ हम आगे बढ़ते हैं, देखते हैं कि क्या संभावना निकल पाती है.
Fantastic. I think that's a great way to actually end. We are out of time. My sincere thank you to each one of you. It's been really wonderful hearing from each of your experiences. I've certainly learned a lot, and I'm sure the rest of the audience has. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. I would like to point out one miscommunication from my side earlier. On the panel today, we had Pushpendra Tiwari, SPM, Bihar Rural Livelihood Promotion Society from Jivika. Thank you, Mr. Tiwari, Mr. Mehta, Ms. Kothari, and Mr. Kumar, along with Ms. Bhargav, for this highly engaging session, and for highlighting some critical points that we should keep in mind as we move forward together in the DRE sector and build partnerships. I would like to inform you all that we have Honorable Minister Shri Raj Kumar Singh in the building with us right now. So requesting everyone to remain seated as we prepare for his welcome. Thank you. those standing near to the doors, I request you to kindly take your seats. Thank you. Thank you everyone for your patience. So as we move closer to the end of the evening, and bear with me when I make this more of a romantic statement, I do believe the sun has set outside, but I think it's worth noting that we're also here in a way to celebrate the power of the sun as we talk about powering livelihoods through DRE. And we know that we'll only return tomorrow to brighten the day for us. So let's sit tight and wait for our Honorable Minister, Shri Rajkumar Singh. He's going to be entering any minute now. Thank you.
అంటే మాకు ఎక్కువ కరెంటు బిల్లులు కట్టేది ఒకటి మాకు చాలా బెనిఫిట్. దానివల్ల 20 అంటే మాకు పగులంతా కరెంటు కోతతో పని కాదనేది ఒకటి లేదు.
जो पावरिंग लाइवलीहुड की तरफ से मुझे सपोर्ट मिला, मेरी जो इनकम है वो डबल हो गई एकदम, तो मुझे काम करने में भी और मज़ा आ रहा है.
आज एक लिया है फ्रिज तो कल 2 लेंगी, 4 लेंगी, उस हिसाब से स्टेप बाय स्टेप बढ़ेंगे और अपना रोजगार और बढ़ाएंगे.
For us, every solar fridge has a story, and Powering Livelihoods has really helped us tell that story.
It's stories like these that we are powering. We are powering livelihoods.
Before Powering Livelihoods, we were struggling with a few major things, and I think that's what made us a really good fit for the Powering Livelihoods program. We had a product, we had a proof of concept, we had done pilots, but what we couldn't do was commercialize. What we couldn't do was formulate a very firm go-to-market strategy, and what we couldn't do was scale up. They helped bridge the commercial value of death.
Two organizations, CEEW and Villgro, came together to make this happen. CEEW being a policy think tank, very good at gathering, analyzing data, engaging the ecosystem. Villgro, on the other hand, very good at working with enterprises who really knows how to help startups to scale their business model.
It started with a belief, and of course with a lot of on-ground research, that there is a need for these clean energy-based livelihood solutions which can power rural economy. But we also know that any opportunity like this just cannot be realized out in the vacuum.
I commend CEEW and Villgro and wish you all the very best as you become the connect between our startup ecosystem, the venture financiers and the government.
So I'll say that if we were all like an army that was trying to promote DRE, then women are these foot soldiers. Without them, we wouldn't have been able to take it to places and take it to the level of integration that we have been able to.
With Powering Livelihoods, we have been able to establish a better organization system, better training system, better way of attracting right kind of talent that would work for us. And with that, what has happened is that we are able to change the profile of the rural women we are working with from just being job worker, dependent on wages that they are earning from other people, into micro entrepreneurs themselves.
हम सोलार पावर को यहाँ पे सारे लगा दिया, बहुत आराम से हम लोग काम कर रहे हैं। सुबह से शाम तक वो मशीन चल रहा है, हमारा इनकम भी बढ़ जाए, धागा निकालना आसान हो जाए।
We have enabled 16,000 livelihoods across the country, with at least 70% of them being women. And each of these livelihoods had typically experienced an increase of about 35% in their annual income. On the policy front, we have helped shape India's policy framework on decentralized renewable energy for livelihood applications. The first such policy anywhere in the world.
So far, Ministry was not supporting livelihood applications directly. So now we have thought of it and we have prepared a large scheme providing financial support for the DRE applications. And what could be these applications that has been helped through Powering Livelihood program?
We've achieved a lot in these 3 years, but I would say that there's still a long way to go. If this $3 million program can unlock a $50 billion market, just imagine the leverage. People no longer look at it as an energy solution, they look at it as a livelihood solution.
सोलरचा फ्रीज आल्यापासून माझा खर्च वाचला आणि उत्पादन वाढलं.
Energy gives everyone power, but I think Powering Livelihoods program gives everyone a better future.
Powering Livelihoods is transforming the way we perceive progress in rural India.
अनंत, श्रीनी, आप प्लीज आइए. श्रीनी को भी बुलाइए. Honorable Minister, it is my great honor to welcome you at this National Summit on Powering Sustainable Livelihoods. अभी आपने बाहर कहा कि your mind thinks in terms of schemes and programs, but schemes and programs किससे बनते हैं? Experiences से बनते हैं, enterprise से बनते हैं, entrepreneurship से बनते हैं, innovation से बनते हैं. So our idea of creating this program called Powering Livelihoods with CEEW and Villgro. यहाँ बैठे हुए हैं श्रीनी जी, he is the CEO of Villgro, and Anand ji, you just met him. So Villgro is the country's oldest and largest social enterprise incubator. And CEEW, as you know, is a research organization. हमने एक partnership किया कि ये जो technologies हैं भारत में, and now we estimate that of all the countries in the world, India has the maximum number of technologies that are using distributed renewable energy to drive livelihoods. What you have seen outside is just a sample. But a sample, this sample is not small. India mein jo scale hota hai, everything becomes scale. So our estimation is that the country has a potential of 4 lakh crore rupees for using distributed renewables for livelihoods. 3.5 crore livelihoods can be generated. हमारे सिर्फ छोटे से program से, and Minister, I should also emphasize that we launched the program in the middle of the pandemic. जहाँ सब capital dry up हो गया था, people were firing people, employees. We launched this program. We evaluated more than 100 startups. Initially selected 6. अभी हमारे program में there are 15 startups we are supporting. Capital support, technical support, marketing support, some of them you have met. In just 2.5 years, more than 11,000 technologies deployed, more than 17,000 livelihoods enabled, 72% of those beneficiaries are women. Entrepreneurs, micro-entrepreneurs से बन रहा है ecosystem. तो इसी को celebrate करने के लिए आज का program है, and it gives me great honor to welcome you. Honorable Minister needs no introduction, but I will take the privilege of introducing him. He is the Member of Parliament from Ara, Bihar, and a member of the Indian Administrative Services from the 1975 batch of Bihar cadre. He was formerly Home Secretary of Government of India. On 3rd September 2017, he was appointed Minister of Power of Independent Charge in Prime Minister Modi's cabinet. On 30th May 2019, he was also appointed Minister of State Independent Charge of Ministry of Power, Minister of State Independent Charge of MNRE, Minister of Renewable and New and Renewable Energy, and also Minister of State in the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. On 7th of July 2021, Honorable Minister was elevated to the rank of Cabinet Minister. As you all know, but it's worth celebrating, under his leadership, India has implemented the world's largest program of electrifying households. 18,000 villages first connected to the grid, and then 28 million households connected within 1.5 years. His term as minister has also been marked by the interconnection of all parts of the country to an integrated grid. Please remember, our grid is more interconnected than the grid in the United States, for instance, transferring 112 gigawatts of power from one corner of the country to another. In the renewable energy sector, India's renewable energy capacity has now reached about 169 gigawatts. We are the 4th largest renewable energy country in the world already. But while all of this is happening at mega scale, India is also the very first country in the world that has come out with a policy on supporting livelihoods using distributed renewable energy. Honorable Minister, we are of course going to hear from you, but before that, I want to welcome you on stage, and you will be gifted a plant. Yes, sir. You will be gifted a plant by... . 。  . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . . . . 。 . 。 . . . 。 . . . 。 . . . 。 . . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 by 35-year-old Kuni Dehuriji. She is a master silk reeler and weaver in Tassar Silk. अभी आपने वो Tassar Silk का आपने मशीन देखा. Tassar Silk Park in Keonjhar, Odisha. Manjuji, since 2016, Kuniji has trained over 500 women herself in using these machines, using these solar silk reeling machines, helping them increase their monthly income to about 6,000-7,000 rupees. In fact, Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, in one of his Man Ki Baat sessions, referred to Kuniji's efforts of training women in solar silk reeling. And like her, there are now hundreds of micro-entrepreneurs who are benefiting from this revolution. Honorable Minister, we are really excited to have you here. You have seen the technologies, you have met the entrepreneurs and the micro-entrepreneurs. But before we hear you speak, we want you to launch a solar anthem. Before it launches, let me try to read out some phrases from that solar anthem. छज्जों दीवारों पे, चरखों मीनारों पे, सौर की सुनहरी आयातें, अब है इरादे कुछ नए और कुछ नई सी आदतें, अब चल पड़े हैं लक्ष्य को देखे रे, सूरज का गोला जेब में लेके रे.
चक्की बाटे हर और तरक्की, खुशियों की जलती बत्तियां, अब थोड़े ठाट में जीने, हाथों में आई मशीनें, घर घर बनी है सखियां. सतरंगी सपने कंधों पे अपने, कैसे मचलते जाए रे, अब चल पड़े हैं लक्ष्य को देखे रे, सूरज का गोला जेब में लेके रे, अब चल पड़े हैं लक्ष्य को देखे रे, सूरज का गोला जेब में लेके रे.
छज्जों दीवारों पे, चरखों मीनारों पे, सौर की सुनहरी आयातें, अब है इरादे कुछ नए और कुछ नई सी आदतें, अब चल पड़े हैं लक्ष्य को देखे रे, सूरज का गोला जेब में लेके रे.
पाई है जोड़ी कमाई है, अपनी कला के हम सिकंदर, यूं बढ़कर गाते हैं मॉडर्न मंत्र.
बढ़ती का पहिया भैया अब क्या रुके, सुनने हमारे किस्से आसमां झुके.
चल मित्र मेरे आ समय को फेरे,
चले वो भी साथ अपने.
सतरंगी सपने कंधों पे अपने, कैसे मचलते जाए रे, अब चल पड़े हैं लक्ष्य को देखे रे, सूरज का गोला जेब में लेके रे,
dedicated to New India and her new energies, CEEW and Villgro, in collaboration with the band Mati Bani, featuring Ashish Kulkarni of Indian Idol fame, proudly has presented this solar anthem before all of you. Honorable Minister, सूरज का गोला शायद हमारे जेब में है, लेकिन आपके हाथ में है. And you are driving this revolution. We are privileged to have you here and your support and your energy, not just for the big, but for the small and the micro. And this is how the energy transition is coming closer to people. We look forward to listening to you.
Shri Arnav Ghoshi, the moving force behind Council for Energy, Environment, Water. Friends, ladies and gentlemen, all the entrepreneurs present here, all the beneficiaries present here. This is truly a liberating movement. The movement towards solar, the movement towards renewable energy is actually a movement towards liberation. What is happening is that people are getting freed from the bondage of institutions which supply electricity and then charge you for it. You become a generator, you become a producer of electricity, and it liberates you. You become your own master or mistress. You are generating your own energy. You are consuming that energy. And it's the gift of God. It's coming from the sun. That's what's happening. And that is the future. We imagined this. We imagined this when we came out with the rules for prosumers, those who are producers and consumers. And this is actually a revolution in the beginning, in the initial stages. One revolution has happened, and that revolution happened when we started adding grid-scale solar and grid-scale renewable energy. We started displacing fossil fuel. And we've already progressed, and we had said that 40% of our established capacity will come from non-fossils by 2030, and we are already at 43%. And we are a world leader in that. We are a world leader in energy transition. So as far as the grid scale is concerned, we are doing fine. Now this is another stage, and that is the distributed applications for renewable energy. Now this is what is going to set you free. And this is again a revolution which I think needs to be started. Now we started this in a small way. पहले हम लोगों ने we started, we came out with a scheme for solar street lights. We came out with a scheme for solar lamps for children. Now all those things we sort of started. We also came out with a scheme for rooftops, which we still have. We have a scheme for rooftops where we give 40% for any solar panel which you set up for supplementing the electricity which you buy from the DISCOM. But so that's also distributed generation. But this is something different. And I believe that we need to expand this much further. We've started small, but we need to expand this much further. We are coming out with a new scheme for distributed applications. And that new scheme will aim to expand this totally. In fact, we see renewable energy touching every aspect of our lives. Whether it is, education, whether it is agriculture, whether it is industry, small scale industry, whether it is, cooling or heating of living spaces, net zero buildings. We see renewable energy touching us in every aspect of our lives. And this is one, of course, very crucial aspect, very critical aspect. But we need to exploit its true potential. This is just a start. This is just the beginning. Just like we started exploiting the true potential of grid-scale solar and grid-scale wind, we need to exploit the true potential of distributed solar. And what you have done, I think, is actually an eye-opener. The fact that I didn't really realize that already so much work is happening without our support, and virtually without our support, on its own by entrepreneurs who are taking the lead. So I want to congratulate all of you. You are pioneers. And you are pioneers. And you are helping people who actually need to be helped. There's one more aspect which we need to add to that. One, of course, is, there are two aspects we need to add to it. What we are looking for. And I'll be looking for ideas as to how to put that in place. One, of course, is the manufacturing ecosystem. So if you are talking about solar dryers, I want large-scale manufacturing. How do I get there? One question. If you are talking about solar loops, I want large-scale manufacturing. Large-scale manufacturing will, number one, bring down the prices, and number two, will, unless and until you have it in numbers all across, you won't make an impact. So large-scale manufacturing is one. So on the manufacturing side, I suppose that large-scale manufacturing will come when we start creating the demand. So that's what we shall do. We'll start creating demand, and I'll invite, the different companies to go into manufacturing these equipment, so that, you get assembly line production for the equipment which you just saw outside. Right now, you don't have, you have small entrepreneurs manufacturing it. We need large-scale manufacturing. We need standardization. That will bring down prices, and that will make it an industrial scale. The other is marketing. We'll be getting, we'll be putting capability in the hands of different families across the country for manufacturing. Whether it's manufacturing clothes or making sauces or whatever, all the entire range of products which we saw. Now we need mechanisms to collect it and market it, and I believe that there is a market. So we need to put in place a mechanism for collecting it and market. That's the other end of the spectrum. Of course, we will make the DRE equipment affordable. That's what we will do. So one, of course, will be tying up with the banks apart from NBFCs, so that any family wants to own a solar dryer or a hydroponics fodder growing system or whatever, they should be able to get financing from the banks. So these are things which we need to tie up as a country. So one is financing, the other, of course, is in the initial stages, provide some assistance to make it affordable. Though I don't see that the costs are very high. And the third, of course, is large-scale manufacturing, which we believe will come if we add volumes, but we will need to draw the attention of the industry towards this sector. We're just starting, and this is very timely. Your conclave on this is absolutely very timely. And for me, it is very useful, having come and seen what is happening already. What we'll do is, when we are tailoring our scheme, we'll consult few people so that we make sure that the scheme actually gives you assistance where it is required. We are emerging, as Arnav said, we are a pioneer. We are already, as I said, we are a leader in renewable energy, we are a leader in energy transition. We are also a leader in distributed applications for renewable energy. And I believe that's a good place to be in. Being a leader, I think, is something which I like. And India is emerging as a leader in most aspects. We have emerged as a leader in the power sector. I mean, we carried out the largest expansion of access ever in the history of electricity. In no other country has 29 million homes been connected to electricity in just about 18, 19 months flat. We did it. That was the largest expansion of access ever in the history of electricity. That's what the International Energy Agency held it as. We have added from 14, 15 onwards till date, we've added 184 gigawatts of capacity, 184,000 megawatts of capacity we've added. Now our total established capacity is 416 gigawatts. I mean, adding 184 gigawatts in a space of 8-9 years is again a record. I don't think any other country would have done that. Apart from China, I don't have the figures for China, but outside of China, no other country would have added this much of capacity. We connected the whole country into one grid. We added almost about 180,000 circuit kilometers of transmission lines we added to connect the whole country into one grid. Today we are the largest single grid in the world, integrated grid in the world, largest, capable of transferring almost 120,000 megawatts from one corner of the country to another. And of course, we emerged as one of the fastest growing renewable energy capacities in the world. You know, when there was an energy disruption because of the war in Ukraine, we sort of kept our systems on an even keel. Our prices remained on an even keel. And while in Europe and in the developed world, the prices went up 7-fold, 8-fold. It went up to almost about 60 euro cents per unit in Europe. I mean, in our country, it was at a level, sort of a keel. It was on an even keel. We kept supplying electricity, no disruptions, and the prices remain on an even keel. And that's what happened. I mean, today, the demand touched 221 gigawatts. That's a record. It's the largest yet. But I see this going further. You know, our demand has been growing at 10%. Last year it grew at 8%. This year it grew at 10%. No other country has electricity demand grown at such a rate. And this is huge. This is huge. For a huge country like India, a demand growing at 8% and then growing at 10% is huge. But we are meeting that demand. And we will continue meeting that demand. And it will continue to grow. Why? Because our country will continue to grow. We will continue growing at 7% plus. And that requires my power sector to grow at 10% approximately, which is a huge, huge challenge in such a huge country. But we shall meet it. I have about 82,000 megawatts of renewable energy capacity under construction. And I have almost about 50,000 megawatts of thermal capacity under construction. Another about 14,000 megawatts of hydro capacity under construction. So we shall meet it. No doubt about it. We emerge as a leader, we intend to remain a leader. Even the systems we have put in place are, the best ever, and other countries can come and emulate us. They want, they actually should find out, they want to find out as to how we are doing it, how we make sure that our markets didn't climb. We in fact brought the ceiling down from 20 rupees to 10 rupees today. So the ceiling price of electricity in the market is 10 rupees now. It used to be 20 rupees when I started. And it's working, and it will continue to work. And we will continue to make sure that the energy which is required for us to keep growing at 7%, 8%, 9%, that will be there. The demand is, the requirement is huge. I'll have to double my capacity by 2030, but that I shall do. That we shall do. So when other people look at us, whether the developed world, they look at us, their eyes get wide open in amazement. Just at the sheer scale of what we are and what we are doing. And this is another aspect of it, the distributed applications. And this is an aspect which touches lives, which touches families, and which puts more income in the hands of families. So we shall be pushing it. Thank you for inviting me. I believe that coming here was absolutely useful, very useful. Thank you very much.
Check. Honorable Minister, thank you for your speech. I don't have questions for you, but one comment I did want to make based on this thing you said about scale right towards the end. This is one thing to be the leader. It's another to be a leader in all segments. And this is what is the unique thing about India, right? That we can be leader, we can build the largest interconnected grid, and we can also have the largest number of entrepreneurs who are using distributed energy. We can build very large solar parks. लेकिन एक वो किताब लिखा था 1970s, the small is beautiful, A.F. Schumacher. But small is not just beautiful, small can also be scale, right? And this combination is a lesson for the world. Because अगर आप Sub-Saharan Africa में जाएंगे, then electricity access भी नहीं हुआ है अभी तक. Some of their cities are dense enough कि वहाँ grid connected power will come. But some of their communities will require distributed energy. They will, if all the solutions then can come from India in a way, right? That India has done the large scale grid and it has done the small scale, then we become, just like we are saying in the G20, the voice of the global south. So maybe one last thought if you could give on how do this entirety of India's energy transition becomes an example, and how do we use this as a way to engage with other countries?
You are right, Dava. That is true. As I said, nobody could have thought that any country will achieve its NDC 9 years ahead of the target date. We did it. We had said 40% from non-fossils by 2030, that 40% of our power generation capacity will come from non-fossils by 2030. We did it by 2021, today it's 43%. Now similarly, I think this, the distributed energy applications part is another field where we need to forge ahead rapidly. We need to forge ahead not only to make a record, that is besides the point. We need to forge ahead because, as I said, it will benefit so many thousands and hundreds and thousands of families. If we can, do this, it will increase their incomes manyfold. So I believe that this is as important, or in fact, more important, I would say, because it will probably cover more families than the program we launched for rooftop or the program we launched for Kusum. Both are distributed applications. And both are huge programs. This is going to be the third huge program. And we shall make it so. We shall make it so. We'll make this the third huge program. Rooftop, agriculture irrigation, that is Kusum, and this.
I should mention, 2 years ago, Honorable Minister represented India at the United Nations for what was called the High-Level Dialogue on Energy. In fact, half of the world's energy compacts came from India. But at that time, the phrase that you had used was citizen-centric energy transition. This is the example of that citizen-centric energy transition. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Nandini, we have...
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for telling us all about the renewable energy revolution in India and for powering India. Going forward with your support and vision, we're surely to see greater integration of DRE and its scaled impact in the coming years. In alignment with this topic, our team at CEEW has evaluated markets and feasibility of DRE technologies in comparison to conventional variants, and has produced a report titled Decentralized Renewable Energy Technologies for Sustainable Livelihoods: Market, Viability and Impact Potential in India. The report is authored by Abhishek Jain and Vase Khalid. CEEW has also worked on an issue brief where the team assessed the socio, environmental and economic impact of clean energy technologies. They surveyed 700 plus end users in over 19 states of India. And the brief is titled, How Decentralized Renewable Energy Power Technologies Impact India's Livelihoods. The brief is authored by Divya Gaur, Priyatam Yasasvi, and Abhishek Jain. We're enthused to launch these studies today as it will give critical insights to policymakers, investors, and civil society organizations. I kindly request Honorable Minister Shri Rajkumar Singh and Dr. Ghosh to launch the report with the authors, and Mr. Srinivas, CEO of Villgro Innovations Foundation, as well as Mr. Anant, to come to the stage. Thank you. I would request Dr. Ghosh and Honorable Minister to kindly stay back on the stage for another photo op with all of our end users. Thank you so much. I request Ramesh Peluru, Program Lead at CEEW, along with all of the end users present here today, who have been an integral part of our journey, for a photo op. Thank you. A big round of applause for all the end users. Thank you. Thank you everyone, and a big congratulations to the team. A special thank you to Honorable Minister Shri Rajkumar Singh for gracing us with his presence here today. I would like to request Divya Gaur, Program Associate at CEEW, to give a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Nandini. I must begin with saying that our hearts are full today to see all of you turn up in such great numbers. It gives us immense confidence to have such a diverse set of stakeholders here, from end users to financiers to policymakers to civil society organizations, all under one roof, to know about the potential of DRE technologies to enable livelihoods. We keep talking about this within our team, how to get all of you together, and it feels like a dream come true. We are greatly thankful to all of you for being here and making this summit happen. We would like to also extend a heartfelt thanks to our supporters, IKEA Foundation, Good Energies Foundation, Duin Foundation, Shell Foundation, and Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office of the UK government. Without their support, this would have not been possible. Thanks to our esteemed speakers and panelists for filling the room with great ideas and opportunities. A special thanks to our end users from coming across the country, some of them from very remote areas. They lit up the summit with their beautiful stories and smiling faces. Thank you to our entrepreneurs who are always on their toes to bring innovations to us and making our lives easier. Thanks to the Powering Livelihoods team, thanks to the communication team and admin teams from CEEW and Villgro, ITC Maurya team for putting together this beautiful summit. And of course, thanks to our super talented MC for engaging the audience so well. What a power-packed day at the National Summit on Powering Sustainable Livelihoods. There is so much to take from these 5 hours. We hope all of you are enthused to leverage this massive opportunity in front of us. We hope this room today has forged a lot of partnerships and many more in the future. I know some of you are already humming to the tune of Suraj Ka Gola, so before we move for the dinner, let's do it once more. So you will have to sing after me, just 4 lines, and let's start. 3, 2, 1. Is everybody ready? Give me a cheer. So let's sing it, guys. Ab chal pade hain. Come on. Suraj ka gola mein leke re. Thank you so much, everyone. We are extremely grateful. Please move to the dinner behind you. Thank you. Thank you so much for a lovely evening.